Remind me to have Josh cut the music into the actual cam screen. Hello, good evening, Internet. This is The Game, brought to you by Dungeon Studios. I am your host, Grom, joined, as always, by a doctor whose primary prescription to solve all of your problems is blowing smoke up your own ass, Dr.Pletorius. Doc, how you doing? Oh, I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you? What's going on? Oh, no.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can hear me now. All right. Sorry at that.
Bound for at least one fuck up a night. Good job, friend.
That was all my end. Sorry.
No, we're good. I had that cleverly crafted intro for you, and I missed your genuine response. I'm very sad about that.
I think it's okay. It's okay. I was happy to hear that smoke. But
will you be happy to blow smoke up your own ass? Will you be happy to learn that Gwyneth Paltrow also is a fan of your preferred treatment method? I actually heard that in an interview the other day.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. You'd be very surprised. The Hollywood elite.
I was going to say, so you were ahead of the curve with So I'm not going to spoil it because it's your own personal health situation. But
no,
when Hollywood begins to put this out there as the next big medical breakthrough, you will, by virtue of this video, be able to have claimed that you started the trend. So.
And then you know what else? I will become DM to the stars. How about that for a title? DM to the stars.
I like it. How did you get this gig? Well, it really came about based on me blowing things out my ass. Which is a fitting description for how any dungeon master gets their job.
What a great way to open the show.
It is 100% a great way to open the show. Oh, all right. Nerd shirts on. Cameras are running. My fat face is up here. Oh, I realized I had a horrible revelation earlier that anything involving my face cannot possibly go well because I look like this. So, also, I have a weird shadow going. I can't get the lighting figured out in this room. It doesn't matter what I do. There's always somehow the microphone is always in the wrong spot.
I can get my lighting good. I always have the glasses glare. That's my thing.
Yeah. So I got my nerdy shirt on, courtesy of the wife's. And we got the Star Wars mug with the coffee to start. Ooh, one of my favorite ones. I haven't broken this one yet. It's a miracle.
I'm all Mothman tonight.
I like it. Very nice. Very nice.
I'm Mothman.
And then because every AI art you built me has me look like a goddamn dipshit, I decided I would be sophisticated this evening. When I switch to water, I will have my fancy goblet.
Ooh, look at you!
Because I am not some savage barbarian.
Oh. Okay. I'll talk about that later, unless you want to go into it right now.
No, man, no. I think we're right on track with the usual fuckery that we get into. I have notes for once.
Okay.
I tried to be prepared for the show tonight because I was like, for the first time in it's got to be 2 months, I didn't have a work day that was like 15 hours long, racing home at the last second. I actually got to come home and cook a meal. Relax for a little bit.
I actually had a good week health-wise, too, with, time management and managing my protocol. Same thing, getting meals done for everybody. And I guess you and I even got to touch base a little bit more this week instead of us kind of freewheeling and just getting back together beforehand. So that was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the second weekend in a row I decided to sleep on Saturday, which was a good idea. Last night, though, as we move right towards the shameless plug, I actually... was late to the meeting that we had yesterday because my 30-minute nap turned into a 90-minute nap where I woke up in a different dimension. I wasn't sure what was real and what wasn't for a while.
Yeah.
I actually
that waking twilight.
Well, and here's the thing. So I actually had such a fucking deeply wackadoodle dream. I remember it 2 days later.
Ooh.
That
is interesting.
Yeah, you know what I haven't talked about this. Okay. Tonight you got the story. Next week, remind me that I will start talking about the dreams and the craziness I have with this.
We can do a quarterback switch.
No, because I want to hear your story.
I don't know if my story is that climactic, but
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I know at the end of your story, I get to shit on something, so I'm not going to give up the opportunity to do that. Come on now. But let's get into the plug so we can get moving on with this shit. No guests this week, just us idiots. Apparently, we are being some would say saddled, others would say upgraded with another host in the very near
Oh
future.
yeah, yes. Amber will be joining us. One of our writers. I'm very excited to have her come on board. She's taken over the chief editing of the Enron Chronicle. She does a lot of DMing for
Okay.
some younger folk and grown-ups.
I
And she
will
also,
say she is also, so I mean to cut you off, she is
no,
an
go ahead.
excellent grammar Nazi. I had her look over
Oh,
a
okay.
document, and we had to ask her to stop fixing things so we could actually, publish the material. So,
No, the other thing I'm intrigued by is she's on the other end with the models. She does a lot of building props and model stuff for her
I do all that
campaign.
stuff. I've said it like 1,000 fucking
Well,
times.
no, it's I mean like you guys can really talk about that
Oh, yeah.
more.
Oh, wait a
Where
second. We have
where
camera.
I don't feel like I can interact.
I
You know,
forgot we have cameras now. I can do nerdy shit like this. I can
yeah,
just
that's I
reach
mean
over here,
you guys can really go off
and I can go back and
on
go,
that kind of
look at
stuff
my
now.
nerdy trees I have built.
Right. And then she could be like, "Oh, and I use a green
Oh, I don't know that you want us to get in
12
I don't know that you want us to get in the weeds on that because I could talk about this shit for hours and it's definitely not interesting to anyone.
No, but I mean, like, if we had
nerds.
the guys from Mammoth on about figures, I mean, I would think that's what we would be highlighting, stuff like that. Absolutely. No, that's why we have cameras now to see this kind of
Wait,
stuff.
I can put my little guy on top here.
Oh, look at you. I like it. I like
Dwarf.
it.
And I killed him.
You know
God
what I
damn
think
it.
we're gonna do? You know what I think we're gonna do is cut out the AI picture I got of you and put his face on your little figures.
Stop it. I'm actually fairly good at this. So it's I've been doing that shit for years. My buddy, who I keep insisting, I'm gonna try it with the headphones on. I always sound weird to myself. I keep insisting that my friend should start doing something with it because he makes phenomenal buildings. He doesn't believe that. He has imposter syndrome like the rest of us, but he does some good shit. Some very good shit.
And so we'll be very happy to have Amber on board with us. Another Dungeon Studios member. Don't forget to check us out at dungeonstudios.co. We're a collective of international creative writers and role players turning out the best supplements for D&D 5e adventure modules designed by experienced game masters. We play test everything. Always looking for play testers. Really need some play tester DMs and artists. You're looking for commissions with the war against AI. This is where you need to jump on board. If you're like thinking, well, I need money right now. Okay, we can't pay you right now, but that's how Kickstarters work. Reach out to us, talk to us. If you're a monster illustrator, there's a lot of work to be had. We're going to get another Kickstarter launched very shortly for our Enron world. And that setting is just really cool with new playable species, classes, backgrounds. And we have stuff set out throughout the whole world. And it's really exciting. And I'm super excited to be all part of this coming in as just a play tester to start.
I would
That's
like
why I'm
to.
saying, it's great.
I would like to chime in to clarify two things. All of the wonderful people you described as we are a studio of, it's all of those things and then me, who have none of those things you have described. But secondly, I didn't hear you say it, but I believe we would like to find people that are cartographers.
Oh, yeah, too. I mean, I know there's a lot of cartographers out there on Facebook, and they already run their own Patreons and stuff. But again, if you're looking for some work and you want to, reach out and let's see what we can do here. We're all about partnerships at Dungeon Studios, getting more exposure for everyone, breaking the algorithm by working together and cooperating because, that's what it's all about too.
Well said. It's almost as if someone who can write put those words down on paper for you.
You know what? And I didn't even have an AI write them for me.
Well, we assume she's not an AI. How do we know for sure?
Well, we'll find out.
They can deep fake that shit. You never know. But yeah, so let's see. We're still working on our Fables of the Forgotten. We did our 3rd episode recording session, working out some kinks with the script.
Yeah, when does the first episode come out for that? It's
do not ask questions to which you do not want to hear the answers.
All right. Look, it's an anthology series set in our world of Eberron, with the host Alabaster, who's your storyteller. He's going to guide you through tales of adventure, misfortune, and mystery. Eberron is a vast and wondrous world with hidden secrets, powerful magic, and legendary heroes. So come and join us as we explore forgotten corners through stories, learn history of Eberron, uncover truths and myths and legends, meet bold heroes and cunning villains. The world of Eberron awaits you. Stories to be told. Tune in to Fables from the Forgotten. How am I doing?
I like it.
I'm not even one of the voice actors. It's really cool though. But I did you know that your voice actors guest starred somewhere else?
Really?
Yes, they were on Mike and Jeremy Steele, your podcast.
Oh, who was on? Which ones?
Mercury and Ty. Guest starred.
They had them on. Really?
Yes.
So we weren't cool enough to get a guest starring spot, but they were. Well, no shit.
Yeah, well, they stole our podcast, right? They stole our podcast, and we did not guest star on their podcast. They guest starred on our podcast.
Wait, we didn't make it in the intro joke. We didn't get to be guests on the show.
No. We can bring that up. That's okay. I know.
No, that's fine.
We ended up on the cutting room floor too. Future Mike didn't even use us in a promo.
I know. So as a scriptwriter, though, I can make sure that Mike gets the no lines or just the really bad ones. So you can trifle with us at your own risk.
It was a really good episode. They did one on threesomes. So then they joked about having 3 guys and a girl, and then they had Mercury there. It is a really neat.
Wait, they subjected that poor girl to stories about threesomes? Really?
No. What it actually turned into was she's from British Columbia, and she is on the end of Generation Z, going into millennial, right?
She's a baby, yeah.
And she posed questions to the 3 boys. That's sort of the way they set it up, and it was really good. They had to guess things about her. And then she talked about herself and stuff. It was really good promo for Fables for the Forgotten on. All right. They kind of stole our voice actors. They didn't steal a podcast.
Well,
and then you're right. They left us neglected.
That's fine. I'll remember this next time I talk to that Mike. We'll see what's up. We'll see what's up there. But yeah, plenty of things coming out in the future, so stay tuned, join us, and enjoy. You can support us through our website, through our Discord, and on obviously all of our projects, Kickstarter,
yeah, and if
whatnot.
You're out there on Facebook, and even if you're not that active, get over there, give us a follow, tell your friends to give us a follow. We've got some free maps out now. We're trying to get a lot more stuff out there. Get that Facebook going a little bit more active as well.
Which I don't understand. I don't know how we set this up. So we're slowly growing our page followers and whatnot for Dungeon Studios.
Right.
I have more than them on my page that I never use. I know that they're 99.5% bots. I know that. What I don't understand is, where are all the bots joining the Dungeon Studios page? We could have thousands of them right by now, and we don't. I don't know why.
I don't know why either. I have no idea. I don't. It's been very interesting watching the number grow, because remember we had that big boost in number. We went over 600.
Yeah. And
now it's sort of just locked at 612, and it's weird.
No, I saw 623. I was looking at it today.
Oh, that's interesting. But our posts are hitting 20,000 views, thousands of likes, but nobody comes back to click follow. So help us out with that. Again, breaking algorithms is tricky.
Well, it's because Facebook is for the olds, and they're all off doing things.
Well, that's true,
like
too.
Porridge at 4:00 and going to bed. That's what I feel like, anyways. I realized something. Did I say? Well, first of all, I'm getting old, so I might have my brain slipping. So maybe I said this before, but I'll say it again because it was a profound thing. I work with a person who is like just turned 21, and they have found endless ways to make me feel old. Like we were talking about Magic the Gathering, which he's a fan of the format that ruined the game, so fuck him. But in talking to him, I go, I remember when Planeswalkers came out, and we knew it would have an impact on the game, and it was the very first steps, and all of the things I've bitched about. I won't bore everybody with hearing me say it again. And he goes, yeah, when was that? I go, they came out in Lorwyn, which is a set that came out around 2008, 2009. I'm a little fuzzy on the specific year, but it was that long ago, and I hadn't realized how long ago that really was. And we get to 2008, he goes, oh, that's great. I was 6 years old. I'm like, fuck, man. Fuck. It just kicked in the gut every time.
When did Magic the Gathering, like, before
1993.
That's when it actually started?
That's when it started.
See, and I think that's when I left 2.5.
Uh-huh.
And to me, that was already the commercialization of role-playing games when it was already going to be on cards, to me. Like when you talk about, the game was crucified later, Magic was crucified. Right. I almost felt like D&D was crucified when Magic was created because it just became a card game.
See, it's
all a matter of perspective, right?
Right. Well, yeah. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I will say though that I definitely think that fourth edition was an example. Was that example of trying to cash in on the zeitgeist, if you will, and trying to steal back some momentum from from the Momos, because system is exactly what. The D&D 4th edition is exactly what a video game system would look like if you wrote it on paper.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is the physical component of cards in people's hands is as sticky as, subscription services today.
Well, that's because fucking gamers don't wash their hands. They're nasty people. But I got some unwashed Magic player stories that'd make your skin crawl off your body and go take a shower.
That's not good. Okay, that's a whole other.
No, yeah, we won't get into that tonight. We have other things to talk about tonight. As always, we're gonna run through the format because I wrote it, and for at least the next couple of shows, I'm in charge of things. So the plug is done. We don't have nerd creds. I got some shit I forgot though. I wanted to bring this up with you.
Go ahead.
So I have some things from the last conversation that I didn't get to because I didn't put notes down and my brain's going. I need to remember this now. Okay. So we were talking about roles in games, how some of them are kind of inherent to the game system, whether or not you need them, and whatnot. So one of the things that I didn't get into with you is this: do you think you could have any RPG, any game, where there are no roles that are required? And what I mean is this, like in Call of Cthulhu, right? You don't have to have a private investigator, but everybody essentially is an investigator. Like that's the role that everyone fulfills in that game. And then the specific backgrounds, like, whether you're a thug or a reporter or a private investigator, whatever, those things give you skills that kind of fill out what your role in the party is going to be because you're better at it than everybody else. So can you have a game where that isn't a thing? And yes. I can't. Okay. Yes. Because I couldn't think of a way. So
I think you can. I think there was a game. I feel like there was a game where you're just you, and you're not a thing. I know when we played some of the mini games, like when we played Psyworld back in the 80s, that was you were a regular human and you had some kind of psionic power. Now, what role got put on you was really based on that scenario, and we were all I think we were even playing regular high school kids.
Okay.
So again, that game, again, the format of the game, though, was more freeform, like, we're just in reality right now.
Right. See, I think...
so we ended up playing more like ourselves.
So So
Go
like I
ahead.
said, no, I was thinking. I think in any game where there's mechanics to interacting with the game, I don't know that you can get away from it. But I just thought about
Well,
this when you were talking.
that was. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead. I'm gonna make a
is
note
that
so I don't
if
forget
you
what I'm
no, you're
talking
good.
about.
If you have a system that doesn't require a character sheet, that's what I mean. Sorry, if you have a character sheet, you kind of fall into this. If you don't have a character sheet, maybe it doesn't happen. And there's a couple of games I heard about. 10 Candles. If you ever hear that one?
No, I have not.
All right.
No.
Short version of the game. It's an RPG, but the mechanic system is that you light 10 candles, and you play until until all the candles are extinguished.
Okay.
Whether they get extinguished by accident or on purpose doesn't matter.
That's interesting. I like that.
So it doesn't. You don't have that's the clock. And then there's another game that you set up like a Jenga tower, and every time you do something, you have to pull a block out. And like that, and
okay. So they made Beer Jenga for RPG.
I guess so, yeah. But in those games, you don't really have a character sheet that does things. So your character doesn't specialize in it. You just think of some shit to do, and then you have to do a thing. You have to do a stupid human trick to have it work.
Even doing something like that for a module would be great, or an adventure.
Yeah.
Having a Jenga set up and you're doing this Egyptian thing, and every time something happens, the players have to pull a thing out.
But anyways, you had an idea and I cut you off. I'm sorry. So
I don't know where. We played one time. The Gore module set on Mars.
No, I'm not familiar with this.
Okay. I don't know the author. My friend was a big Gore sci-fi aficionado.
Yeah, I know the name a little bit.
Very big in the 70s. They made a movie. I forget. There's another name for the movie franchise. They came out with 2 versions of it already. In fact, I think Tracy Lords was in the bad 70s version of it.
No one knows who that is.
But anyway, good. I'm showing my age, but then not really. Okay, so anyway, in this setting, we're using D&D. I guess it was 2E at the time, but we were all ourselves. So I was Mike, Doc, and my friend Alan was Alan, and my friend Freddie was Freddie. But you're put inside these characters. And it's just like you said, in that case, we were all there as these human beings from the 20th century. Oh, God. It was the 20th century at the time, now that I'm saying that out loud. And then we had these powers. But together, like you said, it was unavoidable. We're all sleuthing together. It gave it that component that you were talking about. Like, is there a game that does that? I think when you put people out of body, it sort of does that on purpose. In our campaign, we're playing the End of Time, where Vecna has taken over everything. Our characters, again, have all been pulled out of our bodies and put in new bodies. So again, we have that same sort of group gestalt of why we're all there. So we're all seem to be talking about it at the same time.
Okay.
I don't know any other game systems specifically, but you're right. I do see that as something that would be intriguing. Like I said, with the Red Death, we've all sort of bought into being characters who are investigating it, but I don't know if my next character would be if I wanted to be silly or play a little bit off color to color the story. If that, if that makes sense. I mean, and again, we kind of went free willy where our 0 was, okay, who'd you make? Okay, I'm going to throw you guys together. Instead of the 0, let me see, can you not make that, make this, that'll go better with this. There was no choices, so there was a little chaos, and then we all became investigators again because...
All right. Well, let me get into the second thing that I forgot, the second question, which is kind of a multi-part one.
Did I answer your...
No, you did.
Go into it?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
You did. So then, if you can't get away from roles, what do you think, or at least, I'm sorry, what's your preference? A system where there's no defined roles, everything is based on the player choosing, power, skills, perks, everything's ad hoc. So you can kind of be good at multiple things. Do you prefer a system that's mixed where everything's pre-baked in, or sorry, where things are pre-baked in, but you have a lot of a la carte options, and you can either have it where you have to pick stuff that's kind of relevant to what your role is going to be as the class. So if you're a fighter, you have to kind of pick fighter. You have to pick fighter-y things, or where you can pick anything you want to get a little bit of variation. And then lastly, which is this is the D&D system, where 95% of your class is pre-baked. You have a few choices, but really you're kind of stuck in that lane unless you get into doing multi-classing, and whatnot.
Your question is very big and complex. Let me start that way. I think the thing I like, especially I guess with 5e, what I found myself doing as a player when we talk about 5e, let's go from that perspective. There are certain characteristics and character building things I think you do for a character that make that character unique. Like, yes, I made a rogue. Yes, he was an arcane trickster. And yes, part of that was going to be like anybody else that made an arcane trickster.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the flaws, traits, and those things.
I know. Hang on. Let me.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
I'm not saying that you can't. We had this conversation several episodes ago. Characters are only boring if you're a boring player. You adding things into the characterization, that's a whole separate topic. I'm just talking mechanically. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so you had to add all those things. You added those personality traits, and you'd have done that whether you had all of your skills picked for you ahead of time, or whether you picked all your skills ahead of time.
You're saying that. What did you add mechanically? Then that's all you want to know is.
Well, this is what I'm saying is what I'm saying is you have a preference. So for you, right? If you don't care about what's on your page, like you're not that kind of player, then. Is it better? Do you prefer to have a system where all of that mechanical shit is just pre-chosen, and then you could just do all your wacky little shit on top of that? Or
I don't think you let me finish my question.
Sorry, go ahead. So trickster, traits and quirks.
Right. So I think traits and quirks comes into a play, and then there was a part where he was a tinkerer and all that. So I had made this list of equipment in the beginning, and I brought it to the DM and said, "How about this list of equipment for him to have?" And some of the things were pretty common items. Some of them are even in the equipment list, but I made sure to pick them out as like particular things. One of them was like a selfie pole, like an extending pole, a fish hook setup, a yo-yo. There were like particular things I wanted to use. Now, there's no rule sets for them, and you can't put them in equipment and say, I'm going to use this yo-yo as a weapon. But, there was parts in the game as an arcane trickster where I was like, I'm going to use this yo-yo and hit that guy in the head. And I like that part of the game where I baked something. You're asking, do you bake something in? I baked something into my character, so it gave it a little bit of a la carte-ness and uniqueness, so it wasn't like the other arcane trickster mechanically. Does that make sense? Like, even when I get to combat, my combat is different because I have a lot of different options now. I made myself some other options. Or even outside of combat. At one point, something was in the bottom of a fountain. And I was able to use the telescoping pole with a magnet to get it out. Because the DM knew I had this like silly equipment. And again, that's outside of mechanics. So that's why I have to bring it up when you ask about, is there something you do? That I think I like to bake something in with my DM that's unique, that may be outside of mechanics, I guess. If I'm
yeah. So you're not you're kind of answering the question. So let me rephrase it in this context. So as a player, you have this idea for the character that you would make that I would strangle you for, just so you know. But just being honest.
That's honest. Okay. Let's not get off.
No.
Go ahead.
So would you rather sit down and be able to pick every single mechanical thing you want the character to be able to do in the game, and then obviously all the stuff you've already said that you do on top of that, or do you not care about that, or would you rather sit down and go, okay, here's the sheet, I don't have to think about anything because it's all picked for me, and here's all the extra shit I want to have because I don't care about the sheet. That's what I'm asking. So would you prefer a system, if you came down to the game and I gave you a blank piece of paper and said, okay, pick 75 things out of this book, or here's your sheet, everything's already on here. Do you prefer one? Would you prefer to have had one of those as the backbone, or right in the middle somehow, or a middle ground?
No, actually, I think I like the two extremes. I don't like the middle ground. I like either I'm starting from scratch and it's all me all the way, and I'm piecing everything together, or I actually kind of like, and maybe this is the play tester part of me, just being given something and saying, play test,
try it out.
Try this out,
See, I think so I've played systems.
I kind of like both. But here's the thing too, it's a time factor.
Right.
When you're playing with, a bunch of friends, you want to get down to a game, like Traveler, you're going to spend how long?
Well, Traveler, you spend 6 weeks doing your character before the game starts, and then you die before the session 1.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's what I mean. So that's, again, that's the game system. I like your question you posed in the beginning. And if you're out there listening to us and a game system that's open-ended like that, talk to us where the people don't have roles.
Well, I will say this. I actually, in thinking about this I just bit my tongue. Ow. In thinking about this question, I realized that I have two different answers. One, as a player, I want to be able to pick everything because I want to have the experience that I made the choices and then I get rewarded for it when it works out and whatnot. As a DM, I think the middle ground is the way to go. Because you need some kind of guardrails so that people don't make useless characters. And I've run into this problem with Shadowrun. That's why I was thinking about it.
No, this is a good point you make about if your DM wants to be in the middle and the play, like as a player, I like to be on either end.
Yeah, because I know that I personally am not going to make a character that's mechanically useless in the game, but I will get to have like that freedom of choice. But yeah, no, I've had people make Shadowrun characters. Shadowrun characters that their choices made them kind of mechanically inept. They weren't very good, and it had a negative effect on the game because they weren't enjoying it, and it impacted everybody else. So I think having some guardrails is good, but guardrails with freedom to kind of follow what you want.
Yeah. We talked about this too. Like with the Chronic Explorers, I really gave them no guardrails, and they made superhero characters, and I overcompensate for that, but I could have been more in the middle. And now that you think about it, I think the other thing that's funny is the one end of building a character now with everything. You said 5e, everything that's there. It's almost now I kind of get lost, like trying to pick something on a streaming service. Okay, what am I going to watch? Do I want to do this? So in a way, I kind of like somebody handing it to me because then it's like I didn't have to make all these so many choices to make. Yeah.
Now, don't get me, and like you said, in deference to what you were explaining with your original answer, I think there is a group of players that prefer to think about what their character is going to be, not what the mechanics for their character is going to be. Right. And I'm not against that at all. So
okay, and I was kind of going in that, but now I see what you're talking about.
No, but that's like I said, those are the kind of things that when I take notes, I go, this would have been great to talk about when we had the full show to do it. But well, I forget things, so you all have to suffer. All right, Weekend Gaming. Guess who didn't have a game because my life sucks? That's me.
Again,
but you,
my gosh,
that's
so sad for you.
Yeah. Well, so I was.
Sorry, I get my jacket.
No, you're good. No, I had a drive. I was all set to have a game, and then the schedule, my events at work got shifted. So now instead of driving for 7 hours on Tuesday, as my work day, getting up, doing something, and driving home, relaxing, and then Thursday going to work for a normal day and being home for a game. I had to instead get up at 4 in the goddamn morning on Wednesday, drive 2 hours the opposite direction, work until like 1 o'clock, and then drive 7.5 hours back the way I came to get to where I was going to be at, so that on Thursday I could do the thing. And then of course, I'm like, maybe I could still squeeze it in. I'll rush back. It's only like a 6-hour drive. No, I got home at like 9 o'clock at night.
Can I ask a question? Did you like contact your players to like maybe?
No, well, that's the thing is I thought, here's the thing. I thought about it, and then I did the logistics in my head, and I'm like, this is, you know what? I'm just going to tell them we can't do it. And then if by some miracle, like I'm driving home, I'm like, wow, it's 3 o'clock. I'm going to be home in an hour. I was going to then be like, hey guys, just in case you have no lives, I'm going to be home on time. And it'd be a big surprise, but I didn't want to leave the option there and have them think we were going to play and then let them down. So
maybe that's a word that needs to be created in the lexicon when the DM makes that decision to go or throw on a game. There's got to be a
term for it.
Yeah. Let's think about that one. I'm glad we recorded us talking about it then.
Right.
I don't think there's a particular term for that.
No, but that is.
Right. So I'm sorry you had no game this week.
I had no game. So that's sad. I think I've we talked about this before the show. We're gonna shorten one of your segments because we're gonna talk about it.
So Chronic Explorers we're gonna talk about a little bit later
in detail.
In detail. We did not have a game this week. Then our Ravenloft crew got back together in Castle Ravenloft, but we did not have the player that lost the character in the Heart Tower who has a second player in the campaign. So it ended up being a lot
because
fewer.
Hold on, because he quit or wasn't available?
No, he was in Disney enjoying the Star Wars experience. He was going down there. He was ready to go. Now, I do wonder if he's still a little bitter and feels like the end of the campaign.
You think?
And we can talk about more of that later. But let's get on what happened.
Okay.
So Tomas the Bard is not there, and Tomas the Bard has a ring of mind shielding that's twinned with a one that Peace Lily has on, who's a very powerful cleric who also happens to look just like Tatiana. Strahd is after her as well. Mm-hmm. Now she's there with her sister, Hellbore, who wants to be a necromancer but can't seem to cross over into the darkest areas of darkness yet, trying to keep her sister alive and away from Strahd. Strahd put the death grip on her where all the, bat hordes are hitting her and all the zombie hordes are hitting her. But, Sis is like turning stuff left and right. The necromancer's got powers to keep everything at bay, so it's been hard trying to knock her down. But Strahd ended up just meeting the two sisters because they were alone with one of the goblin player characters who is way too low, who just hid when Strahd came in the room. And then the other two characters, Kendra Lear, the powerful wizard, dwarf, rogue, he's multi-classed out, with the pretty powerful Warforged Stone, ended up in the elevator tower separated. So Strahd sort of got his moment with the sisters and offered them to take the skull, the silver dragon skull of Agenstalhoff, back to the tower and go ahead, do whatever you want to try to. You can't kill me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to destroy your sister. Give me the ring. They said no. And then they met their party. Strahd sent some more, creatures at them, and then Kendra Lear and the rest of them all arrived. Strahd just sort of backed out. Like,
no, did they I'm sorry, let me cut you off.
Go ahead.
Did they have the knowledge? Do they actually have the knowledge of how to defeat Strahd? Either trapping him in the ring or destroying him outright. Did they get that information already or no? Well,
they have the journal already.
Mm-hmm.
They know the Sun Sword by prophecy is in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
They already have the symbol of the Raven kind, but then also the Skull has been sort of prophesied as part of their quest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, meanwhile, they think they're trapped in Ravenloft, but they're right there at the room with the hourglass and the iron golems and the beads, and they can sort of teleport anywhere and have no clue. So they're like kind of not touching anything because they kind of realize everything is a trap in there, which nothing triggers. So they're hiding out, and then they set up, it was really good. They set up a folding boat in the moat in the torture room, and Peace Lily's ability to turn undead just fried everything in the water. And I've left them on the boat, and they tried a full rest with, like guards, and man, gosh, I'm rolling that low, those encounters. They went a full rest in the basement, which I thought was damn hell creepy. So then they got repowered and recharged.
You let them get away with that?
Oh yeah, I totally did, because you know why? No, here's the thing. They have no idea what they're in for in the crypt. Tomas is coming back. I'm still shooting for Hellbore. I really want to break this ring that's mind shielding this Peace Lily. So then Tomas is the next target.
Well, you can't wear a ring of mind shielding when you have no hand attached to the wrist.
Well, as I'm saying, there's lots going. I mean, there's lots that can happen.
There's a solution to every problem.
Well, and here's the thing: is Tomas has the paired ring on as well, so he's coming back to the campaign next Thursday. Bitter about his heart chamber incident already. So we'll see how it continues to play out. I'm kind of excited about it. It's gotten very creepy, and we're going to talk about campaign endings, so that'll be nice. But also this week, we had monster fights, and I actually canceled monster fights.
Oh no!
Yeah, I did cancel monster fights. Now the reason why I canceled monster fights on Friday, our regular crew showed up. We were talking for a while. My daughter had an orthodontist appointment. I didn't want to have to do a short session.
Mm-hmm.
So I also had Friday night, Eastern time, East Coast time, 10 o'clock is what time? 7 o'clock Pacific. Okay. I sort of had a session 0 for play testers and play test DMs.
I saw you were doing that.
Yeah, sort of continental U.S., Canada. Yeah, who's interested? We had a whole bunch of people stop in last week, right? I mentioned that on the show last week. Mm-hmm. Josh said, hey, come by. Nobody showed up. Actually, I had two people show up. One of our voice actors and one lurker just came in and said, yeah, I'm a lurker, but what are you doing? But it was really kind of like upsetting and sad that, hey, everyone was like, yeah, I want to do this. And then I put out all this, hey, playtesters, I'm going to have this meeting. No one even messaged back to say, I can't make the meeting. I'm in this time zone. We kind of stalled on it. So if you are out there, you're listening to us, come on, get back to us. It was weird. I had half a dozen people say they wanted to play test, and then
I don't get it. I don't know. I don't understand if it's because of the format that you're going to just play random things. If that's the issue, I don't know if these are people that...
Do they get to Discord and it's too overwhelming? Is it...
I don't know.
I don't know either. So, again, if you're out there, you want to play test with us or DM for us, come on, man. It's ample. It's right.
Well, I will say one of my notes about the campaign death may be relevant to what's going on with the lack of playtester conversion. So I guess we.
So again, I think we hit this in all 3 of my topics with my Chronic Adventurers, with my Ravenloft coming close to an end. We'll talk about it a little bit more, and then with this playtest thing. So
and the playtest thing made you sad, huh?
Yeah, it was very, very sad. And then we have Anubis, who's one of our writers.
Yeah.
He volunteered to start doing fights on Saturday at noon, figuring,
nice.
Hey,
Get
We
some new
might
people.
even hit Evening UK or
Yeah. Good idea.
no one. No one. So now again, we had all these play testers show up. I ran Monster Fights Friday morning at noon
Yep.
Eastern time. Nobody showed up. Had a late night meeting. Hey, anybody interested? 2 people show up. Then a Saturday session. Nobody. Hey,
I know 8
we're trying.
billion people on the planet. People constantly complaining about not having games to play, not having a community, not having friends, and you get no one. And you sound kind of sad. Maybe a little depressed even.
No, I'm not depressed
Well,
because
I don't. You sound like you're in denial. I think.
it's that may be true.
No, hang on.
There's a balance in
Let me
all
just stop you right there.
Go ahead.
I feel for you. You sound a little depressed. You might be in denial. I think what you need to do is take a visit to the doctor's office and talk about what's going on.
Oh yes, a little visit to the doctor's office, a little magical Q&A tonight, and I came up with an interesting topic.
Okay.
Okay.
I would certainly hope so. Boring ones are ever so terrible.
Well, no, at first I wanted to go down phylactery. We were talked about menorah, and we know phylactery comes from Jewish Hebrew literature, but I sort of took a right turn.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask you if you know what a thurible is. I'm going to start right there. A thurible.
A thurible?
Thurible.
I think the first time, and by the way, 21 episodes of this nonsense. So almost like 90 hours of us babbling on. I love it. Okay. I don't have a clue what that is.
Excellent. So
it only took you 5 months to get one I had I have no knowledge of.
No, it's hard. It's hard.
Maybe when you get into it, I might know it, but I do not. I get 0 points for this question, Alex.
No, I can tune you in a little bit more if you'd like.
All right, give it to me.
You'd like to tune in a little bit further. Okay. What if I said a censor? Would you know what a censor is?
Yeah, a censor in the religious context is a object on the end of a chain. You put incense in there, you burn it, you swing it, the smoke comes out. I know what that is.
All right, there you go. So here's the true fact is that I started with incense burner. I myself was a Catholic altar boy back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And you went in the creepy back room and you got out the uniform for the altar boys and you got out the equipment and you got out, I didn't know what it was called until I did this research. I said, hey, what's that incense burner called at the church? If they use phylactery, it's called a thurible.
Sorry, that's the official name of that?
Yes, and someone who uses it. Yes, and someone who uses it is I'm going to say this wrong, a thurifer.
Okay.
All right. Now, it's been used for a long time. Okay. It started 5th century. I'm going to talk about different research branches have different sort of dates when they say it was used earliest. Okay. So what's interesting about this, do you know anything about censors and thuribles and their history and their background? How about that?
My first question is
cutting into it.
No, my first question then is, wait, so if the official name of the thing used by the priest guys in the funny hats is a thurible, is a thurible a type of censor, or are they two different things?
It says also called a censor.
Okay, so it is a censor. It's just this is a specific name for it, as it relates to being a Catholic religious artifact or item used in the ceremony.
It would also go into Greek Orthodox.
Okay.
If you wanted to talk about what religions it crosses into, they're referred to as censors in Egyptian.
Okay.
Now they also talk about different materials because some are metal, and then they have also terracotta. Also going into Jewish and classical world, um, funeral rites. Now, in altar, the big thing was they were used at altar entrances since the 5th century. And what I read about, this is really interesting.
Mhm.
Someone off the cuff in one of these history videos, just off the cuff, said the real reason why churches started using them is because people stank.
Right, which makes sense.
So they would just use them to like get the church to smell differently. And then in the 7th century, it started actually going along with the gospel. So when like the holy segment of the church was happening, it would be used. Um, and then incense were often used as gifts,
Yeah.
which also that's the 11th century. And remember the gifts of frankincense
And
and
myrrh. I was about to
myrrh.
say, yeah.
Okay, so that led me down a whole nother path.
So is
Do you
there? All
know?
right, hold
Do
on.
you know what they are?
Wait.
Frankincense and myrrh.
They're objects after you're going to talk about after I ask you my question. So, in your research,
ahead.
is there? Have you? Did you come? Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but
No, go ahead.
so they use these. They use those specifically because people stink. Like, did they use them decoratively? Do they use them for a specific purpose? Were they used in place of a little bowl of burning incense so that people wouldn't get their fat paws in there? Like,
Well, and again, like I said, in the elevation of blessed sacraments since the 14th century, so
okay,
it was different time periods and different uses,
okay.
and that's what I was saying.
I'm saying it's an I mean, I guess I don't know how ornate they were, but I mean, creating a little enclosed device to hold your burning incense seems a little bit more involved than just when you could just have a stick of them or a bowl of them burning. So I was just curious if there was
Well,
if there was a
it's
reason.
interesting you said it's interesting you already said small because I'm going to
Yeah.
lead you down a whole nother
Okay.
path where the
All
small
right.
is not an answer.
So to answer your question, frankincense and myrrh.
Yes.
Like I said, I know that they're incense, but I don't know specifically what they're from. They're plant based, I believe,
Yes.
but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. Basically, they're
Okay.
plant-based saps or oils.
Okay.
So they're tar, basically, and then they go off different fragrances, um, different what are they called? Pinene, going along with that
Yeah.
whole aromatic, and definitely having some kind of effect. So it's funny because they never talk about inhalation effects of these types of things when you read about in these holy rituals.
Uh huh.
But it even goes back to Native Americans, burning incense and things. But when you get into frankincense and myrrh, I read about how it was used. Entire temples would be laid with frankincense when an emperor died. So an entire town would become overwhelmed with the smoke and the
Oh,
incense.
I would have died instantaneously.
Right.
That's
That's what I'm
one of the
saying.
things I'm deathly allergic to incense. They fucking destroy me.
Well, and again, with my ailment, I
Yeah.
literally would die too. So I saw this is another reason why it sort of came up as something I wanted to talk about. Now it's really it. Sorry, let me get my bearings here. So looking at where it really hits hard, they talk about it in the prayer of Isaiah in the Bible, and then it's brought up in the book of Ezekiel. But whenever it's brought up in the Bible, it's always brought up as pagan, which is interesting because it's so pagan, but then it built slowly as something that's now used in the highest forms of the church. Even when the
Right.
Pope is, named, they're blowing different smoke out of the Vatican roof there, right? Um, which is also interesting because in my research, a lot of that documentation leads to, have you ever heard, Lucifer's temple beneath the Vatican?
Oh, of course.
All
Come
right.
on now.
So this whole thing
These are
with,
old conspiracy theories. Get out of here with this
well, no,
nonsense.
this is connected to the thurible, that
Okay.
supposedly there's a artifact type thurible there.
Okay.
That's some kind of, bad, because they were always pagan.
A
And
cursed
there's all
censor.
this, yeah, there's all this pagan stuff that's supposedly there. So it was really interesting that I picked this thing, and now all of a sudden there was all these,
So
crisscrosses,
I would like to point
happening.
out, as we have done in a previous episode, like, I don't need to figure out how I'd use this in a game. I just need to read about the crazy, wacky Catholic Church shit. And that's all you need. Like Satan, like evil god temple beneath the super holy cathedral, and there's a cursed censer, which if you burn it, it summons the demons, kind of thing.
Now and then it also crossed into the Arab world and the Djinns
Yeah.
and the genies, and it crosses into that whole air.
Well, that gets back to
elemental-
it gets back to what I was saying. Is that like the original? I think the original oil lamps were really just a kind of like a gravy boat, if you will,
right.
with with a little ember at one end, and then the oil, whatever the mechanism was, the oil slowly kind of dripped down to burn.
Right.
So that's what I was saying with like the incense thing. It's
Well,
I-
all I
I-
have to say is we have to mention the Vatican basement, because that thing has like 800 million views. I had no idea that many people are even watching that video.
oh well, so
Jeez.
so so there. Let me
Jesus.
tell you something. There's no Jesus in the Vatican. Calm down. There's 1,000 bits. Okay, so I'm gonna get super nerdy off, not on a tangent, but along this with what you're talking about.
Okay, because
There are fucking thousands of weird things that may or may not officially be down there. So just
that
to
could
name
be a whole other
oh,
Q&A.
dude,
I mean,
just to name a few, right? So it's believed that the Vatican was built on the spot where Paul was crucified.
right.
Right. So it said that his tomb is down there. Obviously, the old poops, Jesus God, the old popes are buried under there.
Right.
There's the lore about them concealing a satanic temple down below. That they have the Holy Grail hidden. Are you familiar with the Fatima prophecies? I love this one.
No, I am.
Okay, this is a whole other video. This is a whole
that name.
This is a whole other video for you to go watch.
Okay.
3 kids, South America, back in the 20s. Something happened. They all claimed to have visions, and they wrote the 3 Fatima prophecies. They were sent by the bishops in South America to the Vatican, where they were read by the Pope, and he decreed that they would be sealed away and the contents of the prophecies not revealed. But here's the crazy part: they weren't banned forever, but there is a time when they each can be revealed.
Revealed, yeah.
And I think they're wait. I think there's 2 of them have been read. They're waiting on the 3rd one. And then along the same lines, have you ever heard of the prophecy of the popes?
I think I have. I don't know it, but I have.
I have goosebumps. 'Cause I love this creepy shit. Okay. So supposedly a priest visited the Vatican in the 1400s, collapsed, had a vision where he rattled off 108 names. Being
I have heard.
Being the names of the popes until the end of time. And then there were things like Papus aut nauticum, the sailor, right? And so the popes, supposedly the pope's chosen name, is connected to this. So Ratzinger was ad nauticum, which means he was a sailor, and sure enough, he was a Nazi, I think, and was on a German boat.
Right.
The next, I can't remember what the next one is, but supposedly the next pope is Peter the Roman, and that's the end of the line. Whether and there's speculation about what that means. Is it going to be another Mayan calendar where it sounds like it's the end of it, but it's just the end of what the story is, and nothing happens? Will the Catholic Church intentionally try to avoid fulfilling that?
It's crisscrosses, and I just saw this week. Is there the Pope's Exorcism?
Yep,
A
The
movie
Pope's
coming out?
Exorcist.
The Pope's Exorcist looks pretty good. Looks we
I
so we,
I cannot. Here's the thing. I cannot recommend this highly enough. If you have not seen The Exorcism of Emily Rose, you really need to. It's a phenomenal film.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is going to be another high quality exorcism film. I hope so. They're one of my favorite subgenres of horror films, because it's one of those things where, do you really ever discount the fact that there might be an invisible sky wizard? Do you ever give up? I mean, you're not really sure.
Come on. I'm charging my crystal right now, right here. Look, I'm charging my crystal right now.
All right. But back to your censor topic, though, and the thing. Yeah, that's a long-standing conspiracy theory that there's a...
All right, sorry, because I could keep going.
Yeah, no.
The 6 other things. Okay, back.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
The world's largest thermal is called Botafumeiro, and it is in Spain, in Santiago.
Okay.
And it weighs 80 kilograms, and it actually means in Spanish, smoke expeller.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's what it is.
So now I'm thinking that too, when you were asking earlier about the names, I'm also wondering if they got specific names. You said small, right?
Yeah.
So I'm also wondering if they got specific names for where they were or how they were built. Because I've seen a whole bunch of different ones, round ones and rectangular.
Right. Yeah. So like the specific ones the Catholic Church uses might be named that because it was made somewhere. Like
There might have a particular name for a region or something.
Yeah, like the just a random Highlander drop. The a Toledo Salamanca is
right.
It's a fancy hilted Spanish broadsword, but it's referred to as a Toledo Salamanca. That's where it was made, not what it is. It's a broadsword, but it's called that kind of thing because of where it came from. So
now the other thing that was interesting about the Botafumeiro, one, if you see a video of this thing, you know how like a church is set up like a big giant crucifix?
Yes.
They get this thing whipping in the middle of the church that is going up like a great adventure ride.
Really?
Dude, it is like it's going to come down. Like no one can cross the path of this thing. It's coming down at high speed. In fact, maybe I will share the video on our Facebook page. It is like... And then meanwhile... the whole church is just bellowing with this.
Oh God! I can't. Well, it's a fucking bonfire on a chain. That's what it is.
That's what I'm saying. So again, it's really cool. Now the other thing about it was replaced because it was stolen. The original silver one was stolen.
An 80-pound silver censer was stolen.
Stolen by Napoleon's troops in 1809.
Oh, that makes okay.
And it was originally the silver one was originally made in 1554 and has been missing.
I believe, so Napoleon's troops looted the church in 1809, and I believe their doomed invasion of Russia was the following year.
Kind of interesting,
1812.
right? So it's kind of neat, right? Like,
well, the story behind the spear of Longinus, or the spear of destiny, as it's commonly called.
Right.
That it's one of the nails. It's one of the crucifixion nails affixed to a spearhead. It's one of the crucifixion nails affixed to the spearhead that was used to pierce the side of Christ, and rumor has it whoever possesses it cannot be defeated in battle.
Right.
And the Nazis were looking for this thing?
They were looking for everything.
Yeah.
So maybe they were looking for this too.
Well, that shit got melted down and turned into coins. Come on now. It's a giant silver. We know what happened. Napoleon had bills to pay.
Cursed coins.
Yeah. Ooh, so that was a whole bunch of stuff. So, for sensor,
so much there.
For this, I'll give you two. I'll start with the meme, obviously.
You're gonna start with a meme.
Yeah, sorry. Well, it's our internet story. I don't know. Here's the thing. You know what's funny? I don't know what these are called. It's memes or visual. Excuse me. I'm referring to a funny like exchange. I've seen it turn into a meme before though. Anyways, the idea that if you fill what was it? If you fill something with holy water and then you turn if you that's what it was. If you fill a humidifier with holy water and turn it on, does that become a death cloud for vampires? Right? There's variations of that. But with the sensor, that's the thing. I believe so. They have them that burn incense and whatnot. But I believe they also have ones that when they swing them back and forth, that sprinkles holy water. So,
yeah, you know what? I didn't notice that in my research, but
I know they get yes. Yep, and I know they get used in Warhammer, the Skaven, who they like in plague troops will wield a giant sensor, and which creates a toxic cloud or like 3 inches around them, and that's what they do damage with. So you're seriously spitting out poison gas. So, anyways, that's a real world thing you could do. That you fill it up with something, create and spin it around to create a barrier around you of something that can't be passed. So, holy water mist, or if there's a particular substance that repels.
Well, I thought even a cool way for a cleric to turn.
Yep.
Is they use their sensor.
Or you can use that shit like a flail and get kind of a smiting effect when you smash a vampire in the nugget with one.
That's what I was thinking too. Was with a DM that could really be used.
Have you ever watched? I don't know if you're if you're an adult who enjoys cartoons.
One of the recommendations when buying one is to make sure it comes with extra chain. Make sure it has 4 chains because the clinking noise.
Oh yeah.
That's
very nice.
Part of the whole thing, and I think it also helps release the smoke.
What they're setting you up for is the Trevor Belmont fucking legendary chain whip. So I don't know. Okay, I don't know if you're a fan of Castlevania or a fan of the anime series on Netflix.
No, I'm familiar with it though.
If you're an adult who still likes to watch cartoons like I am, my buddy rags me mercilessly about this. And I'm like, dude, all you're doing is denying yourself great content. But anyways. There's
a lot of great Netflix.
Oh, dude, they're like the Castlevania series is fucking amazing. Yeah. But eventually, I don't want to minor spoilers. Eventually, he finds he goes through all the different gear that you get in the video game at different points in times. One of the things he gets is the chain whip. It's blessed, and it doesn't technically have a sensor on it, but the end of the chain whip has got a chunky, flangy ball thing, basically a sensor. And this whip has the effect that when the fucking chunky sensor end whacks a vampire or a demon, they fucking explode from it. Mm-hmm. So if you get your sensor with 4 extra lengths of chain, it's now long enough to use as a whip in case you must fight the undead.
Now I also like the giant one, like I was saying, as a pendulum, as a trap. Maybe you're in this unholy temple and you have to cross this.
Or even better. No, even better. You're thinking too small, my friend. Even better than a trap. Have the fight take place during a ceremony where that shit's going on, so that both the heroes and the bad guys can kick people into the path of it.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So that's a great way to use that. So.
Yeah, that's a great way to use that.
Do we have anything?
I will definitely post that video on Facebook. Now, and really, funny thing is, the number one Catholic video is like the 2-minute how to get one going. So you can see how to get one going right away if you need to.
Nice. All right, you got anything?
Topic tonight.
I like that. No, I like that. No, yeah. Here's the thing. Anytime you can get into real world creepy shit, it's a benefit. Sensor. It's a cool modification to a weapon in the game. Awesome. That giant one is a great environmental effect to have during a fight. especially if you're like me and you like crunchy combat where you're using what I call compulsory movement and different shit like that, kicking people into stuff. It's amazing.
Well, I even think of like arriving in a town where the emperor's died, and like there's this temple, and the whole building is like smoking, and you don't know what the hell, and it smells like beautiful frankincense.
Yeah.
Like
Or it's disgusting smelling because it's overwhelming. So.
that's right.
All right, do you have an ad copy ready? Because I'm not going to make it through nerds and news and notes without taking a 5-second break. So
Yeah, I got us.
you read an ad, I'll be right back.
Good to go. You know what? You got to check out our Enron Chronicle. We have free issues on our website at dungeonstudios.co. We have a lot of cool stuff in there. One of the things is our Dark Mysteries. It's a game that will challenge your deduction skills and leave you on the edge of your seat. The whole object for them, we use them before we start playing a session. You sit down and you sort of tease your players with a little mind game before you get started. As you delve deeper into the mystery, it gets clarified by yes and no answers, and the game master sort of leads you down the path to reveal the puzzle. Not all of them appear what they seem. And of course, in every issue, there's an answer for the DM. So he's got the answer there. If you ever hang out on our Discord, Josh pulls out some that are unpublished, and we all play all together. And that's kind of fun little thing we do at our Discord. If you're wondering what we do on our Discord, we hang out, share pictures and stuff. So come check us out. The other thing I wanted you to all know about is our Volume 1 adventures. We never really get to talk about them, right? And you can run them all as a campaign if you want to get started in the world of Eneron. The first is the Point of No Return. A mining accident leaves a number of miners stranded deep below underground, and a party of volunteers go in to help. But there's a lot more than just rocks down there. Then there's Merkwell Manor. You've been invited to a dinner party of an eccentric, wealthy lumber tradesman, Mr. Merkel. It's a great opportunity for role-playing, meet NPCs in the world of Eneron, and it's a kind of nice little dinner party encounter. Really cool. And then you build up. So then you have Leto's Lost Library for levels 4 to 6, deep in the sand dunes of Eneron. Decades ago were hidden the secrets of Eneron. So as your players are going in this campaign, you get to go find a little bit about the pre-shattered world of Eneron. Climbing up to levels 7 and 9, we have Lost in the Woods. Find the kidnapped boy from the strange goings-on in the dark woods where wild magic has shaped and changed things. Again, Eneron is a world of wild magic, so Lost in the Woods is our introduction to that whole concept. Founder's Crypt, levels 10 to 12. And you know what? This is one I did not get to test play or test DM. Don't know it very well, so I'm kind of excited about it. It is actually the first Droton adventure. So it's interesting because that's going to be our next supplement module. So if you want to intrigued about Droton, Founder's Crypt, you learn about Thorvald's Hammer, the 3 trials that stand before your party. So set up for levels 10 to 12. And then we have Guardian Icebergs, levels 13 to 15. And spoilers aside, there's some weird things going on in Droton. In an occult-like village where a large reptilian creature of the white variety may be hanging out. So it's a pretty cool progression, the Volume 1 adventures. So check them out. Again, they're all available at dungeonstudios.co at our website. We also have our Volume 2 adventures. I'm not going to get into them right now. But again, I like to pitch the Volume 1s. They've been out for a year now. We just passed our first year anniversary of that quick starter getting launched. And they're great. And they're for 5e. Check them out. Welcome
Cool.
back, Merwin. You doing
Good.
okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't know. I thought I was going to be good for the whole show, but I was not.
That's all right. It happens.
Also, please don't take the massive amount of yawning that began when you started talking as any indication that I wasn't interested in what you were saying. I have a very specific physiology, and once I get to about an hour and a half after I eat, there's no staying. It's just,
I've seen that. You have that thing before where everything seems to be like coming back, and you go reverse at some point in the show. You're even your posture. You go from up to down. I've noticed it.
Yeah, it's that
vagal nerve, dude. It's the vagal nerve.
Well, it's what it is. It's the fat belly and the diabetes. That's what it is.
That's called the vagal nerve, dude. It's the vagal nerve.
Yeah. But I had eaten. That had settled.
Go to the doctor's office about your biology. Man. That's not.
It happens to me all the time. But I had the shot of the fancy creamer in my coffee because I'm a bitch. And
ready to go now, though. You're back.
I'm good. I'm good for at least one more minutes of time. Nerd news and notes. But a quick reminder before we get to this, for the ones of people listening to us on the internet, thank you very much for being here. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. If you check us out in podcast format, which is what I prefer, then download and share the links to your friends so they can listen as well. And we thank and appreciate you being here.
Catch up with all our shows. We got little secret nugs here and there.
And I think we have 4 or 5 of them in the pipe waiting to get uploaded. So hopefully that gets done soon, so you guys can catch up. I think there were some delays on my part initially getting them together, and then
we love you still, Merwin.
They appreciate that, and some unforeseen other circumstances. But yeah, so we have Hour of the Raven is the last one that I saw that was up on Spotify, and then we have 4 other episodes, including not to be forgotten, the worst episode we've ever done, because you were sick and I was a train wreck, and we probably should have just taken the week off, so you can listen to how shitty we can be. Like when we're not even capable of trying to be good.
I think that was 18.
No, I was off by 1. So we're on 21. 20 was creative thinking and character classes. 19 was how to recover from a dumpster fire.
19 was okay, I thought.
19 was good. 18 as I have named it, is we are not very good at this. Man, that shit's true.
Again, in any creative endeavor, you got to have your worst. So let's just hope that was it, and we'll move on.
Yeah, like I don't even remember what we talked about. I don't even think I did notes. It was a mess. But speaking of notes, nerd news and notes for the week.
It was funny. You said that, and we were talking about what was the nerd news this week, and I said, it
wasn't a whole lot.
I was like, nobody talked about them getting themselves invited to Wizards and Hasbro and the big meeting. And
we did talk about them trying to get people who were shitting on them to shill for them. That's what the meeting was.
Yeah. And then I noticed that everybody's YouTube's kind of slowed down and stayed off the topic.
Yeah, probably. Well, so here's the thing. So we can go one of a couple of ways with this. We can go conspiracy theory and say that they were all paid off, and Wizards has decided no press is better than some cover story. They finally learned their lesson and just shut up. And everyone's like, all right, well, we will allow you to pay us for our silence. We'll pretend like we were never here. Or theory number 2, Wizards showed them a bunch of shit, and they all said, wow, that stuff sucks. So they're like, I'm not going to bother. Or what's probably going to happen once they've all decided to sell their souls to the devil is they will put out a bunch of videos with all sorts of praise and bullshit and whatnot in a week or two, claiming that, because they had to get everything together, and isn't Wizards great? They gave us a sample of a video to use to promote the VTT and all the other horse shit, right? That's what you're probably going to get.
Yeah.
But don't worry, though. In the meantime, they're still working really hard to buy new shills, as Jenny D has a video up where she is giddy about getting the swag box from the D&D movie that they sent her. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. So anyway, crossing into D&D news, just late breaking. Don't fall for dungeon craft. There's a scam. People are attacking botted out Professor Dungeon Master on YouTube. And even YouTube can't slow the bots down. All Professor Dungeon Master could do was make another video to let you know don't fall for the scam. So, wow.
All right, really, I got it really quick because I was gonna bring this up earlier, and I got sidetracked to my own thing. One of the things I realized as this young kid is making me feel like an old person is that I've officially reached the point, and you've done it a couple of times. You do it all the time.
I do.
But we're at the point where we make references that nobody gets because we're old as shit. So for the kids who might listen to this, the sound and hand motions you were making are from a ticker tape machine, which is what the internet used to be. So your news feed now, your little pop-ups. Oh no! Okay, I think we dropped the frame of the video too right there. It froze up because the government knows we're talking. But no, so your little news feed notification that pops up used to be a thing called a ticker tape machine, where it would just go and it would just print out this little stream of paper that had words on it, and then that's how you get like stock prices and updates, but also news.
Even in the 80s, they had the feed they had the wire feed at the radio station that was always seemed to have everything else there.
But it's just one of those things where you do that. I know what you're doing because I get the reference because I'm an older vintage. I don't know where the age cutoff is, right? But there's a point where they have no idea what you're saying, what you're doing. So I realize, and I'm working on this as a joke. I'm working to write the joke about this. I've reached the point now where I can just steal jokes from movies and media because none of the people younger than me have ever seen these fucking films or know what I'm talking about. And anybody my age, their memory sucks. So even if they did watch them, they've definitely forgotten them by now. So I can steal that shit and nobody will ever know.
Or like Star Wars, you can just keep using the same lines over and over again and people feel nostalgic.
Oh, don't even get me fucking talking about that. Sorry. No, you're good. No, so actually, no. So
this week in gaming,
I know
that was big. And then the other thing, of course, the movie hitting the scene. What really, I'm sort of like a wait. And I asked my daughter, I said, yo, are we going? I mean, I got a podcast. I should go so I could talk about the movie. She said, I don't know. I'll let you know, Dad. But
well, I definitely think we should plan on doing a review and spoilers for it just to save everyone who doesn't want to go. Because I'm desperately trying to find an excuse to go to the thing.
All right. So we'll make sure we go. We'll try to get there this week. I will try to get there this week.
Yep. Well, does it open? It opens this week. Is it open this week or?
I already saw people like in costume. I thought it opened this weekend already.
Well, people have seen screenings of it. I don't know. I don't think it. I don't. I got to check. It might be the 25th. It's probably Friday.
So anyway, meanwhile,
on
photo. Go ahead.
No, I got movie stuff I want to talk about. That's why I have notes on this. So really quick. So just to get around the horn of all the nerdy media content that's out there, right? So you can clearly see the desperation for shills because they're sending swag boxes to people on YouTube for the movie. People have started to review / spoil the movie, and it seems like they're doing with the movie, and I did not watch any spoilers, so I will not spoil anything. What they're doing with the movie, and I already talked about this, is what we shall call the D+ing of content. And to D+ content, you take good content and you turn it into garbage, or put it on Disney+, hence the D+. Anyways, so one of the things they've been doing is all of their legacy characters, so the Avengers and Star Wars characters, they have turned them into moronic, pathetic, useless, butt of the joke, emasculated dudes. So sometimes they do it in a way that is not terrible. For example, the Hawkeye show, right? He's an old, broken down guy. He's just a regular dude. So there you can be like, well, okay, I kind of get it, right? And in that show, it was kind of humanizing. But in other ones, it's not, and it's clearly obvious what they're doing. They're making a joke of the older characters so they can replace them with female versions because they think that somehow that's going to be the way to go. And in that same vein, I was worried that in The Mandalorian, and again, no spoilers, they were going to do the same thing to Din Djarin, Mando. And they did all the setup they could for it, and they kind of did it, but didn't go all the way. So I won't spoil it. There's several scenes.
No, see, I think you have to stop. I'm
Okay.
going to stop you right there because you've gone away from total talking about role playing news.
No,
Mandalorian. No, Mandalorian news is different because I want to cross into that, and that's also going to cross in our topic, which is things ending, and we're going to talk about serial versus episodic because that show has made a serious dynamic shift in this season.
Yeah. But here's where I think it's related though. It's in the nerd sphere, first of all. Secondly, what's my big complaint about? My biggest complaints about this whole fucking thing.
D&D movie. So hit
right. No, but
going here.
I'm sorry. I'm getting back around to it. Hold on a second. Cutting me off. How dare you?
No.
What they do is they destroy the characters and they make them. One of the ways to do it is they make them an inept moron, and so far, and they were like, there's 2 times they did that in the show, and he had to be, he had to be saved by another character. I won't spoil it, kind of thing. And you're like, it's just real hard to swallow because I don't want him to do that with the character, which brings me back to the D&D movie. I was getting there, and what I have heard that's not spoilers and it's kind of obvious is that they have provided you with another inept, useless, incompetent male lead, and just look at the trailers. All the badass shit is done by everybody except for Chris Pine. So he just looks like a moron.
Now I'm going to stop saying sorry trailers, whatever I've read, I've already read. If you haven't read it, sorry. Here we go. So I think the one thing I've read already is it's just like Mandalorian in the first episode, where they're just going to lay the tracks for serial movies. I've already read 3 people already say the second movie will be a hit. So they're just laying groundwork for people to go in there, get their rocks off, walk back out, and want more. That's what they've built.
This is the content over quality discussion. So rather than make a good, solid movie, they're going to build something that they can turn into content and just churn out shitty sequel after shitty sequel to cash in on.
No. The big thing is here, and again, we go back to D+. Mm-hmm. You started talking about it with Mandalorian and Boba Fett. Where are your shows going? Are you going to keep overlapping your shows with episodes in different serials? Because that's sort of the same thing. Or is this what they're going to pull in D&D? Is start to switch the characters and make it episodic or serial based. Because again, all right, Chris Pine's not going to sell. Who's going to sell next month? Who's the shoot du jour? Who wants to be in the movie? It's not going to matter because it's going to be on TMZ and it's going to be in Us Weekly, and it hit the big time. So it's not going to matter. And if a good writer could do the right thing, think about it. Empire Strikes Back hits as one of the greatest, maybe all-time movies ever. I heard in someone, or greatest sequel ever, or because there was all this built. Have they built a good enough foundation? I don't know yet.
No, stop it.
I can't say I know.
Yeah, well, we'll go see it, come back here and complain about it because it's going to suck. But I will say, though, I think the tide is turning against all this horse shit they've been doing. So it just came out today that on Friday they fired this executive chick that out of Marvel who became president a couple of years ago and kind of has spearheaded this phase Bore and the Phase 5, all the Phase 5 flops. She got canned, from what I understand. And it comes on the heels of like the Willow show got canceled, no second season because it was hot garbage.
Yeah.
And they're selling their movie studio. Ant-Man, I guess, flopped based on by Marvel standards. And there's been all the lackluster response to the last vomited chunk of Marvel content on the streaming services.
Here's another good example. Marvel has stretched this mixing the TV shows and movies and the serial versus episodic to the point where I think some people are done with it now. It is starting to reach its own geekdom again instead of just being pop culture.
I don't disagree with you. I think that there is like superhero movie burnout is a thing where it's not the shiny thing. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. We'll go back to the meme thing. Just gonna put this out, the memes. So we talked about this before. There's a meme out there that shows the fandom and then the activists, and they're like, no, you need to change X fandom, X movie, X product because it's X thing. And then they go, oh, well, we're really sorry we made a thing that you don't like. Here, we changed it. And then the fans go, oh, well, that's not the thing I like anymore. And the fans all leave. And then the last panel of the meme is just the place and the activists, and they go, here's the thing you wanted. And the activists go, oh, we never wanted that. We just wanted it to not have things we didn't like. And then they leave as well. And then the place is left holding the bag because they made some shit nobody wants.
Well, and they may be headed down that road. They're bringing in Thrawn, and now they're going to connect it to Rebels, and they're going to, how much of that is too much?
Well, you know what? See, here's the thing. Like, so since you bring that up, we're going to get totally off topic. I don't care.
Okay.
Rebels is a great example of good Star Wars storytelling, and you know why? None of the main characters had to be a moron so that the other main characters could shine. None of them were like that. Ezra Bridger was fine. Kanan Jarrus was fine.
What was that creature too? They encounter
the weird fucking turtle shell thing on the planet.
Yeah, it's voiced by Tom Baker, Doctor Who voice.
Yeah, I know what he is. I'll think of the name in a second.
Bebo.
No, it's not fucking Bebo. Stop.
No,
it's
it's a lame name. It's like that. Anyways, what I heard was that was Lucas's original name before he called them Jedi. He was originally going to call the Jedi the name of that creature.
Right. Well, the original thing for Star Wars was the Wills, WHILLS, the Wills of the Force. That was like the religious order.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that Lucas is infallible. He had some shitty ideas. Jar Jar Binks, being the biggest of them all. But what I'm saying is, in Rebels, it was a great show. None of the characters, male, female, alien, whatever, had to be made to be shitty to make others look good. I like Sabine Wren.
That's a good point.
Like I didn't like Captain Syndulla didn't really do a whole lot in the show, but like I had no problem with her. Like I said, all of them were good, and the Thrawn in there was fucking awesome.
Yeah, but again, how do you weave that all into this now? And
well, this is my thing. This is what I'm saying.
Is that doing exactly what you just said?
No, because here's the thing. Like, so if we go to watch the D&D movie, and it's Chris Pine's Bard being an inept, useless, needs to be rescued moron the whole film, while Michelle Rodriguez's Barbarian saves everybody all the time, and she shines in her saving of him being useless. No, you don't need to do that. He can be a good, like you said, he can be a good and established character. Like he's supposed to be the mastermind, right? That's the joke in the trailer. It's like, well, I make plans. I plan things. Okay, he can be. He can be good at that, and not be the fucking brawler in the group, because that's what her character's supposed to be. And she can be a badass, but she doesn't have to be the fucking planner as well. You don't need to ruin characters and shit on characters to make other characters shine. They did that shit in Willow. That's the tropey shit in Willow.
I see where you're going with this.
Just stop doing it. That's the thing.
I was already disappointed with him in the role already.
Yeah.
I hate when the same actor is too many icons. It's not cool.
Yeah, I thought he was great as Captain Kirk.
Right, but he also did not need to be the bard in the Dungeons and Dragons movie because he's a good Captain Kirk.
Well, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know if these people are or not in the movie, but if you don't end up with Vin Diesel and Joe Manganiello in there at some point in time, you've really wasted an opportunity. Because they are the two, like, and the cast of Critical Role. They should have got all these people should have gotten cameos in the movie.
All right, well, we went way off course because also this week in D&D.
Oh yeah, sorry.
On PhotoHop on Facebook, PhotoHop is pushing their free AI to get your Dungeons and Dragons, images. But it was funny. The one thing I've learned is you can only get Druid, Paladin, Barbarian, and Sorcerer in the free packs, and it takes about an hour to render. What is it? 12 pictures maybe.
I wonder why it takes so long to do that.
And it's funny because even some of the renders that I've gotten where I've gotten Paladin twice, it's the same background. Like, why did it take you so long? I think the object, I'm going to be honest, is pay. Hey, because as soon as you pay,
it's planned it's planned suckage to make you buy it.
It's planned suckage to make you buy. And here's planned suckage to make you buy. So the first batch I ran, I'm a Druid, bundle 1, and it looks like crap. I'm like, oh man, this sucks. I got to try this again. Bundle 2, Sorcerer. And then I kind of start looking like the dude from Terminator 3 somehow. I start noticing that I'm looking like movie stars. Like, that doesn't look like me. That looks like my roommate. Like, wait a minute. Then I got Paladin bundle. Now, don't forget, this is 3 hours later now because it's taking an hour to render these bundles, right?
Yeah.
Then I get Paladin again with almost identical duplicate pictures. How does it take an hour to run the same goddamn AI twice? Yeah. It's got to be because they want you get aggravated enough to say, hey, bang, I'm going to buy it. I want to buy it. I got to make a fighter. I need to make it.
What would have been even better is to find some actual artist to draw you character portraits and pay them so that they can keep creating awesome art. Because AI sucks.
And that's the interesting thing too about it is, experimenting with it and everything. For me as a digital artist, I went crazy and I said, okay, I can give you a bunch of backgrounds, a bunch of heads. I could take these heads, put it on any body I want as a digital artist myself. So for me, it's
you can scrape the AI's already scraped art. See that? I can get behind that, sir. I can get behind that.
That's all I do, dude. I mean, like some of the characters that don't look like me are ideal to become my next character pictures that no one has. That's the way I look at it. One of the biggest things I'm seeing is this thing. I talked about this last week was when my DM used my pictures because he's a photographer and aged it and made the priest. Well, people using other people's images to make their copyrighted images. That's weird too. Like, you sent me your picture today, and
it's a weird space to be in. It's weird.
Yeah, it's really, well, again, if you're an artist out there and we're pissing you off, we want you to come and do real art for us. We want real art. Come help.
Yeah, it's oh wow, I did that thing again where I left for 5 seconds, come back, and now my camera, I'm super shiny. I'm like fucking translucent almost.
It resets your light again. It resets your light when you walk away. But then other than that, role-playing news with the movie and the AI release, and then of course Professional Dungeon Master. I don't know anything else that big.
Yeah, no, it was kind of a quiet week for the stuff.
Yeah. Jenny D kept showing up without her makeup, which I guess she gets a lot of sympathy when she does that. I don't know. I don't know why you play that.
Well, because you can.
You haven't noticed that? Because you can.
Because you can. Because you can. Look, I had this conversation today, and I'll give you the crib notes version of it. If you can sit in your hot tub in a bikini and get 1 million views and make $100,000 a month, I got no problem with that because I can't. If I could do it, you damn sure bet I would. So I don't have a problem with it. So if she's able to go hashtag natural and get sympathy likes and have all the dudes simp over her and it makes her a living, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't begrudge her that. I really don't. What'll be hilarious though is when hot girlfriend AI gets its shit together. And which they already have this, by the way, and I guess people were already bitching about it because they did an update and it changed the AI. But people are paying real money for an AI girlfriend to talk to. Like they'll text it and it'll text them back as a chick, and they can kind of feed it their preferences when they start and whatnot. That's already happening. So. Ladies, I'm going to tell you right now, get that money while you can get it, because eventually, perfect hot digital AI chick who will actually interact with the dude who's simping for her is going to be here, and they will pay that shit whatever it takes a month. Because you know where that goes. Once the AI's down and they have their online girlfriend, then we start getting, we'll delicately call it interactive electronics connected to your AI girlfriend, and then the nerds don't need you anymore, ladies. I'm so sorry.
You know, it's so funny.
It was a good ride. We had it.
You made me laugh because I'm thinking I was doing some research on our topic tonight.
Okay.
And I got to, DM Lair.
I think so. DMs, yeah. He's one of the ones I don't like. Yeah,
okay. But so I was checking him out, and it's so funny because he made a joke. One of the players, it's the end of the campaign, and one of the players reads this epilogue and is like, da, 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 and the other player tables are like, oh man, you got that from Describe or an AI, so you could read that at the table, and it just made me pass out.
Yeah, dude. Like I spend hours sometimes working on dialogue when I know someone's going to monologue something, working on it. And again, I don't know.
Now that's the other thing. We're always fighting the fight for the artists, saying, "Hey, don't buy that AI art, or that real art." Hey, we write real modules.
Yeah,
we write real stuff. Thank you.
All right, fair enough. All right, on to our actual topic, which we've been dancing around because I wanted to bitch and moan about things because that's what I do.
Do you want to do story and come back to our topic?
No, because I want to talk about the campaign part first. We'll do your story, then we'll talk about the players thing afterwards. Because the player thing probably won't be that long, but I want to get your opinion. I want to get your opinions on it and kind of go through some of the notes I have. So, dying young is the topic today. Not in the manner that you think. What I wanted to discuss was campaigns, games, and characters that end before their time. The campaign fizzles out, the game stops being played, or somebody wants to switch their character before they've died or even gotten to the conclusion of their story arc. And does it have what are your thoughts on it? Some ideas about why it happens. Do we fix it? Do we not fix it? What do we do? And your experiences with it. So I will start this by letting you talk, something I rarely do, and Your chronic adventurers.
Yeah, I held off the story.
Yeah, so go give. So this is I have stories about this too that I'll share, but you think this campaign is going to come to an end before its actual conclusion?
Well, it has come to an end before its actual conclusion.
So what happened?
That's what I was saying. That's what. Basically, I was searching for people about 2 years ago to start playing. Took about 3 or 4 months, and I got this one guy, Cannon, to join. Has the same illness as I. We both have the CIRS with the mold illness, and he and I touched base, and then we found these other guys that had the polyneuropathy like I had, and the four of us sort of joined together as the first group of chronic adventurers. And we started this campaign I had set in the Old Forest, sort of homebrew thing. I've been talking about it. Uh-huh. Now, the two brothers that both had the CIDP, they kind of left earlier. My friend Greg from college, who actually lost his foot in a motorcycle accident, also suffering from CIDP, joined us. And then we found another player who sort of jumped in with us. The time fit. He was in the same time zone as Cannon. and he joined us as well. And we started the campaign in earnest. We really were going well. We had a few people come in and join us, some chronic adventurers, then they leave. Cannon had his girlfriend join us at one point, then the girlfriend phased out. She wasn't super D&D, but she was still cool with him playing. And then, of course, remember, we have bumps along the way. Sometimes my health wasn't working. Sometimes Cannon's health wasn't working, so maybe we'd call the game off, or we wouldn't play together, or I would run a test thing for Dungeon Studios or whatever. But I don't know, we've been hitting and we have been missing, I would say, for about 6 or 7 weeks now. And Cannon and I got in touch via Zoom one day, and we just started talking. And with our illness itself, if there's mold around that you can't see, you can end up right back into like the worst of your symptoms. And he said, there's got to be mold here somewhere. He's like, I can't deal with D&D right now. I got to. So he is back in full battle mode. Like, I don't know, he may have to move where he is if he can't find it. You know, whatever he's got to do, he's got to do. But I don't feel like I want to continue with the other players without him. He's like the base. He's been running the story since the very beginning. It's fizzed. It's fuzzed. And you know, as a good friend, I just kind of want to stop.
Right.
Because I feel like that's like the most honorable thing to do.
So you have hit every single note I have on my sheet in that description. And your player has something going on that I have in the second half of our discussion to talk about with people's characters retiring and whatnot. So that is spot on. So let me tell you my story. So I've had dozens of games fizzle out over the years, right? I've told some funny stories about them, fist fights between family and whatnot. So some games are just bound to die, right? And that is what it is. The groups are volatile. People are flaky. But I had the campaign.
That's an interesting point in itself, that people are volatile, and that's why they end.
Yep, which I have that on my list.
Okay.
But so the last one that fizzled out for me was a little bit different. I have I don't know exactly what went wrong, but I have speculations. But the short version of the story, and like I said, I think I've told this before to you. I don't know if I've done it on the show before, but that was a very mush-mouthy transition. I don't think I've done it on the show before. Is we got to a point where they just stopped taking plot hooks. Right?
Right.
For weeks. And we had started off, and we did, I built the campaign around an idea that instead of having a large, obvious, dominating story arc that they were tied to, I would have smaller arcs, but leave gaps in the game for characters to follow their own personal arcs, for the players to kind of pick where they go. And there isn't anything that's like, oh, well, if we don't do this thing right now, the world's going to end. There are consequences for things happening, but there's a lot of basically smaller stories that they can kind of pick from. The campaign is called The Tales of the Northern Province because it's designed this way.
Okay.
And the fucking thing is cursed, I swear to God. So the early parts of the game, which are more linear because it gets the game started, go really well. And then once we get to the point where I say, well, you have weeks of time before the next big event's happening, right? You can do whatever you want. You've saved the people. You did all the whole initial arc is over with. You can go back, or sorry, technically the second arc. There's the third arc.
You do this narratively or as role playing?
What do you mean?
This in between.
Oh no, it's game sessions. Well, it's designed to allow them to have game sessions to do what they want to do, right? So there's 2 arcs that get presented in the beginning.
I need to go get a spell book. I need
Wait,
to.
yeah, it's well, yeah, it's the secret. It's the servants of the secret door, and then it is hello. People have joined us. Hey, sweet, awesome. We're up to threes. Awesome. How you guys doing? Thanks for being here.
Hey, welcome.
So it's all of our night owls, the Insomniacs hour. That's what we're in. So servants of the secret door, which is the opening game, and they have the option to follow it, or they get right into the next arc, which is no innocent men. They're connected. So those are the two paths to start the game with. Most people go with no innocent men because that's the most obvious hook type thing.
Okay.
That leads into the plight of the Lanky, and then you're done. And then after that, the next event is like a month ahead of time in game time, and there's a long journey between where you end the plight of the Lanky and before the next thing starts. So in that space, it's like you could go back to the city you came from and complete the job you were hired for. Or you can go with the NPCs, you can go do your own. There's a bunch of options. So that plays fine. They do some personal stuff. They travel across the plains. They get into the next story arc, which is the Ashbark Swamp. And then everything's good. They get past that, and they get into the next phase where they can kind of pick what they want to do, and everything starts to break down at that point in time. One of the players gets his character killed off kind of on purpose. It was a real crazy moment. It was a cool dramatic moment in the game, but it didn't make any sense to me why they chose this way. But anyways, it was a good moment, and then it just went downhill from there. Until eventually we get to a point, like I said, where they don't want to take any leads. They don't have any personal things they try to do. They just give up on the storylines. One of the players quits in dramatic fashion. And then we have conversations about fixing where we're at. That sounds like we fixed it, and then it's just a train wreck right afterwards. And then eventually it's like, yeah, we lost the thread. We don't like doing this, or there's too much going on. All these problems came up, and eventually I'm like, all right, we got to stop. So I'm like, yeah, I go, we're done. This game's not going to go forward. I like you guys, and I'll be happy to roll you guys into the evening campaign if you would like to join. And a couple of them did, and that lasted a few sessions, and then they just quit. So, like, the characters didn't die, the stories were ongoing, and it's just fucking ran into a brick wall.
Well, and I think the root of it is the spirit and the players and the initiative of playing the game. I mean, like I said, with Canon, I completely understand the biological reasons why he physically cannot be involved with the game, because he has to take care of these other things, or he's not going to be able to function, as a human being. And I think people kind of do that psychologically. Like, if you're not into the game, you just shut it off and you're done. I think the ranger that got killed in the heart chamber, and I'm gonna go to Disney. Like, he was totally happy about going to Disney and leaving everybody in the lurch in Castle Raven. Like, yeah, good luck, guys. I won't be there. So I'm really intrigued to see how he plays it next, because again, this Castle Ravenloft thing for me, and how does the story end? Remember, with that story, I had the halfling ranger and the elf.
Yeah, they end up in the Wild Beyond the Witchlight Circus.
Right. And it was like conditioned response for me to have an out. Like, that's already an out for the whole campaign. Like, if Castle Ravenloft fizzles, or the whole thing becomes a TPK, something is still happening at this circus, and I can always go back to that. And even letting it just lie brings it back with gusto and zest, when it's like, hey, do you guys want to go back and try that again? It's like, it sort of gets intriguing. Oh, you're really trying to fix that camera.
Well, I'm like blinding white. I keep getting brighter and brighter.
So it is kind of interesting. It is kind of interesting to me that you said that, because right now I feel like my other players' hearts are still in it.
Yep.
And the one player isn't. Now, the funny thing was,
Yeah.
they asked him, and I said this too, are you still going to try to kill that other guy? And he said yes.
So at least you know what he wants to do.
So this Thursday, it's going to be very intriguing if Tomas, the other character of this same player wearing the mind shielding ring, starts trying to kill the dwarf who is really Strahd is trying to bring him into the fold anyway. So really he is setting up, he wants me to kill everybody. And if that's, it's almost as if he wants that to be the ending, I think, in a way. I'm wondering if that is his secret desire in a way.
Maybe. Well, so
is that the crash and burn? You said before,
toxic
about
players.
People, is there someone who emotionally derails it and they feel the satisfaction? I have to stop because when you said our topic was what it was, I went on YouTube and watched a whole bunch of different videos. And like I said, everybody talked about different things, but not about when it actually fails. So I really want to talk about that because too, with canon, I think it is kind of important that something happens.
Yeah. Well, let me hit you with this then. So,
okay.
I actually broke up my notes for this part into two things. So I will skip the first one because we're talking about stuff. We're actually talking about campaign games. So let me run through this. So.
Oh, and that's what the other thing I wanted to talk about was your campaign.
Yeah.
Now you just hit me where you were saying, what's going wrong? Right?
Yeah. Yep.
And this goes back to, I'm talking about this serial versus episodic.
Oh, okay. So we are on top of my notes.
Yeah, and I got back to it. Sorry. And I think that's the thing where you really have to lay out with, I think what I'm finding, especially with 5e, is a shorter dynamic setup of what's going to happen is a better way to play the game. If you know you're playing these 5 adventures, this is the campaign, that's the way it's been set up. And you can do your little front story, and then at the end, wherever you are, you do your little backstory. Now, all these experienced players I see on YouTube all talk about, well, I just retired this character here, and I retired this character there, and I retired this. A lot of people are not comfortable with that. Now, even in my Ravenloft campaign, I had a player retire the character, not come back to Castle Ravenloft, stay in the Sea of Sorrows because his character just would rather stay at the sea than deal with these vampires and everything. Now, where does that come from? Where does that... And he admitted this. He said this. His big brother was the forever DM when we were younger. And he learned at a young age, never get attached, and death is part of the game.
Well,
and
so...
ending the game is part of the, is the biggest part of the game.
Well, here's the thing. So the character question, that's the second half topic, is to do with the character, because I have some thoughts on that, which we'll get into. But so you mentioned episodic versus narrative. So my very first thing is, can you have a quote unquote game without some sort of continuous story? So can you play you're gonna play these 5 modules, right?
Yes, you can. And in fact, we did it when it's a setting, it works much better. Okay, we actually did one called The Princess's Bribe.
Okay,
and it was a spoof on The Princess Bride.
Right.
And somebody played Indigo Montoya, and someone played
Fezzik, and I get you. No, but that has a story though.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying. I was going to say that made it very convenient for everybody to step in, and we were talking about this earlier with it's already made.
Right. So
these guys and experienced players were able to step in again.
So my point was this, and this one is wanted you to clarify. So if you said, "Hey guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play these 5 modules. That's our campaign." They're not connected in any way, and nothing you do in one affects what happens in the other, except you're going to use the same character. So there is no continuous story. There's no connection between the sessions. It's just, we're going to do this module independent, and then we're going to go play the next module because it's the next level up. and there isn't any connection between except the characters that you can choose to carry over. Can you play the game like that? And
Actually, yes. You can play the game like that, and this goes back to what we were talking about, The Mandalorian. I think a lot of campaigns can start that way, especially where your beginning adventures are episodic.
right.
But
Well, then here's
but at some point, it flips because of the 3 tiers of the game.
Does it flip because it needs to flip to keep it going, or is that what you're saying?
I think player desire kind of tips it.
Okay.
Player involvement.
Well,
this is what we were talking about when a campaign fizzles.
Yep.
If those 3 players playing don't really care, they're going to either come back to the table without a backstory and want to just keep rolling dice. Now, to have 3 players on that perfect balance where it's usually not that way, right? Everyone's usually way in over there.
Right. Well, so this is the point I had about this, though. So if you say, hey, we're playing these 5 modules, they're not connected, right? So is there any reason to come back for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or can you just be like, oh, I got something else to do, and since these aren't connected, it doesn't really matter if I don't show up for this next one.
Again, as a play tester, I can, yes.
But that's play. I'm not talking about play testing.
No, I'm saying this is the same conflict I have with play testing. Here we have a series of adventures where I'm ready to run a campaign and people don't want to come and play.
Right. Now, and again, so this was my point, where I made the note then. So if that's what you're setting up for a game, then it just feels like it just by its nature doesn't encourage people to get engaged with it, and then it becomes a matter of, well, I had something better to do because I'm not committed to this thing because it's only going to last. It's going to last this long. It doesn't matter if I miss a whole module or not. It doesn't matter if I pay attention to what's going on, because at the end of the day, I mean, I'll roll dice, kill monsters, and then it didn't matter that I know it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me that I know anything from the first module because none of it's relevant to the second.
It's interesting. I'd be very intrigued to hear about some of our pay to play DM friends.
Yeah.
I bet you their adventures don't fizzle because, again, those people that are paying.
Well, they have a monetary incentive to have fun.
They're making a conscious, not even a monetary incentive, because think about Dugan, right?
Yeah.
You're not paying to play goblets and warlocks. You're not paying to play. You're paying just for your figure to be there, and right. So that's a difference.
Yeah. Well, it's
the whole thing's really intriguing to me.
Where I thought you were going to go with that was, and I'm curious as well, is what for the paid guys, what do the players ask for? So if they have time, if they have money, they're willing to pay to play, and they have the time, would they be content paying for random games?
Interest. Yeah. It's the interest level too, because look at Dungeons and Doodles.
Yeah.
And people are paying to play there so they can be in the random to get their characters in the comic.
Right. Well, that's an incentive. So that is an incentive. But here's the thing: does that mean that the game itself is not an incentive? Like they're not. Like if they said, hey guys, you get in the random pool, but you're never going to make it into the comic, but you might get to play the game with us. Some people would do that, but how many people would not?
It's a good question. All
right, so this is so make a note. This is a topic we should bring up with some of our guests.
Yeah.
If we get Russell back on, or forever, Corwin back on.
Yeah,
all right,
definitely.
So here's the thing. I don't know that you can build a successful game around that, because I think, like I said, I think it naturally kind of defeats the desire to buy in and be connected. It's good. Here's the thing: if that's what all of your players want, and that's what you have time for, and everyone's good with that, I'm sure it can work perfectly fine. not saying it can't work. I just think if you are trying to build a campaign where, hey, we're going to get together for 6 months to play D&D once a week or whatever it is, I don't think that style really gets you where you want to go. And then, so this is some of the things I had noted down, though, is obviously, are the players looking for something different? That's what I said. Some people want a campaign, some people don't want to be attached. So you have to figure out where people are at with that and where you are at. That's one of my notes.
No, and that's true. That's true. And
Now,
I'm even thinking about that with my friend. His head is in the Red Death right now. Yeah. He's ready to ref some horror for us, and he's ready to have Ravenloft end. So in a way, him deciding to attack the other player character is him saying, I'm kind of, let me see if I can pull the trigger on this one.
So, all right, so then let me ask you this part, the next part of that then. So you have that setup, you have multiple games going, you don't, Ravenloft
that's
obviously.
Blessing.
Yeah,
that's
Ravenloft obviously has.
That's mentioned in the YouTube videos by some of the experts that, if you're playing multiple games with friends, that really helps keep things moving and keep.
Well, here's my thing. So do you think you should change what you're doing, though, to try to correct it? So one guy wants to go play Red Death, the other guy wants to murder other player characters and ruin shit.
Do I think I should change what I'm doing? At first, I felt like yes.
Okay.
I did feel that way. And then I think I even felt more so that way when he pulled the, I'm going to Florida. Good luck, everybody.
Yeah.
So I guess I really took that as a point to stop and pivot.
Yep. And just say, I'm not changing what we're doing.
So I got to dialogue with the other player characters, both outside the game and inside the game, with the direction of the game.
Okay.
Like I made that very clear in all of our heads. Like I know where he's going. Where are we all going?
Okay.
And what does everybody want from this?
Yeah. So for me, oh, go ahead.
No, and just as the finale there too, because like I said, if they discover they can escape the castle and they end up back in Barovia, it's going to be very easy for me to say, okay, you're back in Barovia. You guys want to play Red Death next week?
Yeah.
Because that sour taste that the ref who wants to ref Red Death, he still has that sour taste. So let's just put it to bed now.
Right.
Because maybe after he runs Red Death for a while, he'll say, hey, you know what? Tomas is still in Barovia. And I can make up some great, like, hey, this is what's happened while you haven't. So to me, sometimes them dropping to a fizzle, especially when you're flip-flopping, it's great for revitalization. Well, and I don't need an AI or scribed to
tell you that. Well, so here's the thing. So
unless they paid me
right
to say they wanted me.
Yeah, we need to start. Yeah, you keep doing ads for people when we talk about some stuff. You got to start getting paid for this, man. $10,000 for an episode. That's what we want to ask for. Just be like, hey, look, we've repped your product a couple of times.
I'm not gonna ask Jenny D what to come on our show anymore. I'm just gonna ask, what are they giving you for ad rates?
Dude, no, I listened to a thing about this.
What are they?
Just ask for $10,000. Doesn't matter how good or bad you are.
Just say 10.
Just be like, hey, look, man, I've repped your products a couple of times for free. Would you like to be a sponsor for an episode? It's $10,000 an episode. Don't explain anything else and just see if they pay for it. Because a lot of times they don't fucking check. They're just like, yeah, sure, whatever. So here are my thoughts on this. So if you're playing this kind of a game, right? What I would say is that there's things you change for, things you don't change for. I wouldn't change what I was doing, and I wouldn't let the game fizzle, and I wouldn't stop playing it to accommodate one whiny bitch. So if you have one person who is not into it, not a fan of it, they're not involved, don't start changing things for them. So if your guy has got his head in the clouds about playing Mask of the Red Death and he starts trying to do things to end the game early, that toxic bullshit you talked about, first of all, I wouldn't let it happen because I will not be held hostage by terrorists, right?
And that's next Thursday when he's back at the table.
Yeah.
We'll see how it
See how it
lays
goes.
out too.
But I wouldn't change anything. I would keep the same storyline. I'd finish what was going on because we all committed to play, and you shouldn't be a dick, right? Things I would change for though is if, like I said, if we're playing it and someone says, hey, and someone says, like I mentioned, it's like, hey, look, man, I really have some issue, like you said. I can't play this night, or I can't make it for a couple of weeks, or whatever. I would tweak what I was doing for somebody who was a good player.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah.
And I would definitely tweak what I was doing if it became obvious that what I intended and we started to do, is not in what the players want to do, right? As long as it's a unanimous thing, it's not everyone acquiescing to one douchebag.
Well, it's funny because that's what happened. That's what happened with me just playing with them and me coming out clean in the beginning. Like, where is this going? That really helped set the table, on the right path. So that was nice.
So like I said, using the 5 different adventure that you might set up, right? If we're into the second one, people go, hey, look, man, do I really wish that these were kind of connected somehow, or I'm not having as much fun as I could because there's no big story kind of thing. Like, I would change for that. I would look to change
absolutely.
for that.
Now, that's another one. When I think when I've been thinking about when something is fizzling, if you want to end it.
Well, so this is on to my next thing. So
is that part 2?
No, it's the second half of this because the other thing, and I think this is what the first part. Good morning, everyone. I haven't had enough coffee. The first question is what I think about when I think of the various random kind of games that I hear about. Pay-to-play games, episodic games, West Marches type stuff. Or where people go and they just pick up modules and that's what they play, right? It's a different beast than when you have an actual campaign where the intention is always, we start out, we're going to play through this story that I have. Or if you buy a campaign book, we're going to play through Strahd. We're going to play through Storm King's Thunder. Whatever. Start to finish. That's the plan. Descent into Avernus. This is the plan. I think that's a different beast because the reasons you do that and the reasons the player agree to it are different than the people say, hey, yeah, I mean, I'll show up and we can play bang out a couple of modules. That'd be great. Yeah, we'll hang out for a while. So
I also think start to finish a little bit better too.
Yeah.
Right? You know the actual final outcome of modules.
Well,
a lot better.
Yeah, and there's going to be a definitive end. So here's some of the things that causes the fizzle, and this has happened to me. So you're running the content, and you start having absenteeism. People stop showing up, or are present but not really there.
Right.
And it's the idea of having something better to do. There's another thing that's more interesting to them than the campaign. So like you said, your one guy is got his head in the clouds about playing the Red Death, right? While you're playing Strahd. So here's my question. Is it because he's just flighty? Does he have ADHD? Or is there something that's not being fulfilled for him with that campaign?
Well, and again, they talk about, endings where everyone gets their character gets their epilogue, right? And I think he became a little too attached to the character, and the ending didn't read the way the epilogue he wanted that character to have.
Well, here's the thing. You haven't gotten to the ending yet.
Yeah, but that character's death
somehow
in his mind was the ending for him.
So here's the thing. So before that character died, was he committed and made the games when he, not barring health issues?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And even when they were two separate parties, and he was just playing, the bard on the ship, who ended up getting called the captain, he was in wholeheartedly. I mean, we did a whole mind flare, thing that no, it was. We've had some great games.
So for him, it was. So this falls on. It's something else. So something happened in the game or out of the game, and he's just like, all right, fuck it, I'm not interested anymore.
Well, and remember, there was a lot of metagaming to get over it. Counting hit points, and like I said, for some reason, and this is the other one. He's digging it all on his character's motivations, which we talk about being a really important part of the game. So he's hated this other character since this campaign started a year and a half ago. And that character has increased that hate and has increased that hate and has increased that hate, where it's actually so much hate that's why he ended up at the carnival. I kind of feel like it's what we talk about. His alignment many times during our playing had changed to something far more chaotic, evil, and sinister and selfish than just being, chaotic and neutral.
So,
you know what I mean?
Right. So this is a case of him. He got what he wanted, but didn't go the way he wanted, and then he's pissy about it. All right. Well, how about this though? So that's like you said. It's
like I said, that campaign may not end either, and I don't. And I that's the other thing is I sort of have I don't care where it goes now,
right?
Because he let the dice fly. Now I'm kind of excited to see where they end up.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And yours isn't the best example of this because you're in the final stages of it. And if everyone dies, that's not really fizzling out. That's just a conclusion you weren't looking for. But everyone's dead. It happens.
Well, now here's the other thing I started to do. I'm focusing on. I went back to look at my no fun videos again of the tomb, because that's where they're headed, and each tomb. So I know each tomb like the back of my hand. And it's funny because even there's a tomb that they suggest you can put someone that might be a Tatiana lookalike, which I already have set up in my campaign. And then he made a suggestion that you have another one that you can have another player character. That's going to be Hellbore. That was the next one that's going to get targeted. Then there's a musician down there. I'm going to have something for my bard waiting. And, I'm already putting epilogue-ish dead ends in.
So what do you think would have happened if that fight? This is just hypothetically, if that fight between these characters that hated each other happened at the midpoint of the campaign? Do you think the player whose character got killed, the ranger there, would have checked out in the middle of the campaign because his character died?
Quite possibly, yes.
So then,
and you know what? And I think that was the thing was being an experienced player. There was definite advantage to playing a bard and this ranger simultaneously together. It was like better than multi-classing, right? And that combination became so flawless team. And then I decided to separate the characters in the campaigns because I couldn't kill anyone in 5e, even in Ravenloft. I separated the campaigns, which I think made in his mind each character even more of a lead in his own mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then enforced the halfling and druids, the halfling and wizards hatred. Remember, it kept repeating over and over again in the campaign.
So like I said, so if this had come to a head in the middle of the campaign, and and all of a sudden he had to go to Disney and he flaked out, he's got something better to do because he's not into the game anymore.
It may have happened.
So let me ask you, how would you have dealt with that? Because if you give into that and the game fizzles because now you're short players.
Again, I would have had to given into it because remember, he sponsors the whole shoot match with the Beyond license and everything else.
So you'd have been. So if he wanted to stop playing, you'd be forced to stop playing.
Be like, "Yep, we're done."
That's a dick move. Now, what about?
Do that. But he wouldn't do that either. I mean,
hopefully. Well, now let's flip. Let's go from the toxic player.
If he does, then I become DM to the stars.
There you go. So let's get away from the toxic player. What about your guy that got sick though? What happens if he's in the middle of it? He's like, look, man, he goes, I can't finish.
Yeah, and I've already said I think I am just sitting on that, and I've been. Saturday, we have a Facebook page where I kind of put posts and then I share them out as messages kind of thing. And I was actually just thinking about writing an epilogue to all the players that have played.
Yeah.
And just doing sort of a metagame epilogue and leave it open because if you remember, like I said, I've had 8 or 9 people leave. So I feel like leaving the door to all of them to say, this is still here for you is more important than trying to find a conclusion.
So you'd have let the game. So you potentially would have allowed the game to stop being played while you waited for this guy to come back or for things to get sorted out. You'd go play something different. You would let that happen, depending on who the player was and what the reason was.
I mean, I'm letting that happen.
Okay.
I mean, it basically got down to Cannon and I. Now, remember, Greg, who's my other member of the Chronic Adventures, also in my Thursday Night Ravenloft crew. And with springtime coming up and everything's like, hey, I don't mind cutting back to one night a week. Right. So to him, I began at the same thing. It's a matter of how much time do I have? So he's ready to cut back with the Ravenloft. Now, meanwhile, someone's trying to kill him in Ravenloft. And guess what? He's not playing Red Death. So he's sort of taking a whole step back from D&D himself. His whole interest level has faded back.
All right.
And trying to field chronically ill people to learn how to play has been an ongoing thing for me for 2.5 years. And I just don't get that many people. I think my effort in doing it has also reached a conclusion. So that's another reason why it's ending, I guess. If you want to be honest.
No,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. So
I got to go on and be DM to the stars.
yeah, so for mine, so what I got, the feedback I got on mine was that they had kind of lost the thread, right? And in general, barring whatever shenanigans was going on, there was the idea that they just weren't interested in the story that had been going on. They weren't interested in following the plot that they were attached to, and nothing else had tickled their fancy. And so at that point, after trying for weeks and weeks and weeks, it's like I don't know that there was anything more to do, because if none of the players are into what you're doing.
Yeah. And I keep, you keep telling the story, and I keep thinking about the videos about what you should do to end it. You should just go into that end the campaign mode. Just
and try and
end
God,
it.
I'm translucent again. And try to force a final episode so it ends.
Yeah,
See, I took the other option. I'm like, all right, like I've tried. I put out a bunch of content. I've asked you guys questions. I've tried to accommodate, because one of the things I had gotten for feedback towards the end was that some of them didn't like having the games and the stories span more than a single session. They didn't like having to get together once a week and remember things.
Here's one. Like, I would love to do this. Sit back on the Chronic Adventurers and just invite everyone back and say, when we can coordinate everybody back, it's the last episode. I mean, it could take years. It could, I have no idea, or maybe if I get 5 people, I'll have a final episode. I don't know.
Yeah, you have a lot of different problems. So for me, there's a point where I'm like, all right, I just got to call it.
Right, and it
seemed a lot like, for me, there was something going on, like behind the scenes, that had led to this, as opposed to being organic.
Now that's the other thing. Watching these videos, it all talk about at the end. I kind of am opposed to this theory. They're like, oh, this is the time when you can metagame and talk about what could have happened and what other possible outcomes could have happened for your players. And to me, I always feel like it can go somewhere else. I can't give away any. No one sees behind the curtain kind of thing. Would that have played with your group where you just stop and say, hey, these are all the secrets. You want to know all the secrets? Because sometimes I think as a player, you sort of get backed into this box corner where your mind's eye isn't drawing the world for you.
Right.
So you'd rather just leave it. Where maybe if someone just illuminated me to everything going on around me, I might see it differently. Does that make a little bit of sense? Because remember, when a DM homebrews something, there's lots in your mind. You've built the whole thing in your that they don't have. It's not their perspective. And that's why a module, I think, especially that stuff when you can see it, you can show those pictures to people, it plays so much better because everyone's on the same page. I've always felt that way, even with Theater of Mind, Tomb of Horrors. That's what made Tomb of Horrors a great module. Not that it had crazy traps, not that there was a lich. There was the first one where everyone visualized the same thing, and it solidified the game. It concretes the game in a way there is a cool part where, everybody's imagination is cool, but there's another part where it moves forward where everybody's imagination gets focused.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I had on here was, is it you have to kind of look at the situation, and to your point, if everyone's imagining what's going on, they're engaged. If people don't understand or can't see what's going on, for whatever reason, there's that, like I said, there's that lack of interest in the plot. Like, I think you have to accept the fact that your story might suck.
Well, and let's talk about playtest. Your playtest inside the hip joint of this. Ooh, spoilers. There's so much three-dimensionality going on that if you can't visualize it, it makes freaking no sense. Castle Ravenloft. If you can't start visualizing the two towers and where they crisscross and where they go up and down, you're lost. And what's funny was the one players, they went in that elevator shaft. They went all the way up. They ended up in this room and they went, I know where I am. If we go up one more level, we can cross over where the heart chamber was. It was like they made a realization about the physical space that we're all imagining. They don't want to leave. Now, I bet you the bard the ranger that got killed, he has not visual. The only space he's visualized is where he got killed.
Yeah.
Geometric visualization. What did I say? Spatial
awareness. Well, like I said, I'll just to wrap up my points on this because it's getting to be story time. I do think that if you're homebrewing the stuff and whatnot, and people are not interested in what you're throwing out there, you do have to take a moment to kind of review if it's you. Maybe it sucks, and maybe no one cares about it because it sucks. That's an option. But the other side of that though is not every game is right for everyone. And this is
do you give the metagame at the end?
No, I don't fucking tell them anything.
All right, because I was wondering. Like I said, all the videos say you get a metagame.
No, fuck them. No, I like to talk. I'll talk with them about their wild theories, and I'll answer questions about things that they think of after the game. I have no problem with that kind of stuff. If it's things that they would know, if their characters would know it.
And that's far more That's far more homebrew based too, because there's still secrets you keep in your sleeve.
But now for like the module thing, right? If you start playing Ravenloft and people get 3 or 4, get some sessions into it, and they're like just not. It's like, okay, I'm not feeling the horror. I'm not interested in the thing.
Stop.
Yeah.
I would say stop.
It might not be. It may not be that module may not be the right one for those players. The game might be fine. The module. So, except the fact
that you're home and that actually happened when I started this Ravenloft campaign. I had 12 players. We kicked down to like 5 in moments because I think some people like the idea of playing Dungeons and Dragons, but all of a sudden they're like in the crypt of this monastery fighting zombies and wraith nuns, and that was not their. Yeah. They wanted fairies and dragons and.
Yeah, just like I feel the same. I feel the same way with the magic punk stuff, like trains and clockwork. Like some of it I like, and some of it I'm just like, dude, I'm so not into it. It's immersion breaking. I'm like, I can't. I just can't do it. Other things,
man.
Yeah. Other final thoughts, obviously too, and this is more of a campaign thing. Some people they don't want to buy tickets to ride the train. And if you bought a campaign book, it's not you get some, you can do some freelancing, but at the end of the day, I mean, the book is the book is the book. Strahd's your bad guy. He's got his allies. The castle's the castle, and it's going to end there. And you can do some stuff, but if you're playing through that module, I mean, it's linear. It's not. I'm
Right.
sorry, it's linear at points because there's some sections where you can do different things in different orders. But at the end of the
Oh,
day, you're dealing with Strahd trying to find his long lost love. That's the story, and you're stuck here.
that's the original module.
Yeah,
That's the original adventure. His castle is an upright tomb of horrors and is a vampire at the end.
yeah, yeah. So ultimately, with this, like I said, what I gather from you is, if any of this shit comes up and whatnot, just fucking pack it in. It's not worth fighting to save it.
No, no, and I kind of feel like anything you haven't used can be reutilized.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to look at
See,
it too. Don't.
I'm on the opposite. I spent a lot of time trying to fight to save the game because, in my case, I I didn't want to accept that the content might have sucked, that it might be mismatched with the players. My game, my table is not the table for everybody. The story may not be a story that they liked and whatnot. And I kind of overlooked that, and I spent a while just trying to keep things going because I felt bad about it. At the end of the day, though, I think you were right. I would have been better off just cutting it off at the fucking stem early on. I do think you can recover. I do think it's
now,
possible, but
now another big thing I did, which was important, was the Girl Scouts and the Chronic Adventurers ran the same homebrew campaign.
okay.
Now, it wasn't that they affected each other's events, but my Chronic Adventurers got a lot further than the Girl Scouts did. So now to go back, and the Girl Scouts, they may hit me up this summer again to start playing again. I'm like good to go. Like I got a ton of stuff, and like
Yep.
it was like it got play tested.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
in a way, it's like I didn't want to give anything to any players, and that was the thought was, would any of them want to come play with the Girl Scouts? Jump back in.
There you go.
And then the offer could be out there.
You're right. You're right. So final point, just to rehash what I said, I do think also, if it's the player consensus and whatnot, you should make changes on the fly. If your girl, like you said, like with your Girl Scouts, like they don't want to run around and do eldritch and do vampire horror stuff. They want to make friends in the forest. All right, if that's what they enjoy doing,
That's right.
because it's
And if they say, hey, Abby's dad, we're kind of done. Okay, let me know when you guys want to play.
cool. All right. Well, I believe you have a story to share. We'll take a quick break, and then on the other side is the when players give up on characters thing, which we can talk about toxic players. We can talk about main character syndrome, and then what to do when people are trying to give up to help others. But before then, you have a story, so go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm going to cue up the intermission.
This is not a super dramatic story. It's not that.
I think it is.
It's okay. Star Wars and merchandising has been a long time thing, right? There's all kinds of Star Wars merchandise, all kinds of things going out there. Now, my son Quentin, he has genetic syndrome. There it is. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out. He has genetic syndrome, loves all kinds of toys, but one of his favorite things, anything long, broom, stick. Well, at some point, someone bought a cheap, like, dollar store lightsaber, and it was in our house. And man, you got to see this kid play with this lightsaber. Okay, spinning it, jumping. I mean, just nuts, hitting stuff with it. He just loved the lightsaber. But
Are you going to make him a Star Wars Kids video? I'm so sorry. I turned into a story. Shit.
it's okay. It's going. I may when he gets better and better. But what ended up happening was he beat this lightsaber to death. I mean, it got cracked, it broke, whatever. So with Quentin, it's like, do you replace toys? What do you do? What do you do? It's like, I've got to get him another lightsaber. I mean, I've got to see him now. I see him like swinging a broom around the house. I'm like, honey, I really don't want the broom going through the window. Let me go get him a lightsaber. Like, if it's going to be something, let's do it right. Right. So I go to Target and I'm like, okay, let me check out what we got. I don't need like super light up because it's just going to break. I just need the plastic Fightem lightsabers. They've come a long way from the Nerf blow up ones, talking about things people don't remember from the past. So they've come a long way from that. But anyway, so I go in and I see there's the lowest grade, the flip, whew, and it like slides out and it kind of locks a little bit. You have to push it back in. I'm like, perfect. This is what I need for him. It's also going to help his motor coordination and stuff, right? So I think this is like ideal. So I look at the box and I'm like, oh no. It's Mandalorian. And I'm like looking at the box, and the box says Mandalorian. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Mandalorian's got a black saber. That'd be kind of cool. I'll get Quentin the Mandalorian, right? So it's like the Mandalorian's on the handle, right? So look at there's like lots of empty spaces. There's no Mandalorians there. I'm like, okay, well, there's a bunch of baby Yodas. Yeah, well, Quentin's cute kid. He's cute. I'll get him the baby Yoda. But then it's got these like rubber ears. They're like soft rubber, and he still chews things with his disability syndrome. I'm like, no, can't do that. He's going to be like chewing the ears off this thing, right? All right, so what else do they have? There's only a couple left. Stormtrooper lightsaber? Why would you have a stormtrooper lightsaber? That doesn't make okay. So then they have an Ahsoka lightsaber. Makes sense. I get it. Mandalorian, Ahsoka lightsaber. You're already trying to sell her show through Mandalorian. D plus, good for you. Good job. $12, whatever it is. Okay, good. But I don't want that for Quentin. So what else do they have here? Boba Fett lightsaber? Come on. Boba Fett lightsaber. It's almost sacrilege. I can think, okay, yeah, that was the first toy that you got if you collected all the other toys and had the serum. I get it. It's a nostalgia toy. Maybe that's why it's there. Or it's the same mold as the Mandalorian with just different coloring. Maybe that's why they're actually marketing Boba Fett lightsaber. Okay. So now it's like, I'm not buying any of these. If I'm going to buy one of these, I'm going to buy the Mandalorian one, right? So I'm in the Target in Annapolis. They don't have it. I said, well, I'm going to have to go to the Target across the bridge, Kent Island. We're lucky enough to have one right over the Bay Bridge. So I'm like, okay, I'll drive over the Bay Bridge. Guess what? Nope. No Mandalorian. Yep. They got Boba Fett's. They got Yoda's. They got Ahsoka's. And it's funny just to see the same ones and the empty spaces. Like, who took all the Mandalorians? Where'd they all, like, did they even make it to the shelf before, they got out of the box? So I get home and I tell my daughter, I'm like, honey, I went to Target at Annapolis. I went to Target in Kent Island. We got to get it for Quentin right now, but I got to get the Mandalorian. And my daughter, she's not a super geek, but she loves her dad being a geek. She loves the way her dad, this is like perfect thing. She's like, yeah, we got to get it. We got to get it. So she helps me find it. And I'm like, and make sure it's not that Yoda. Make sure it's not that baby Yoda. It's one of these. I'll have my millennial daughter do all the computer work, grunt work for me, right? So she gets there. She's like, here, Dad, look, yellow saber, Mandalorian, silver handle. This is the one you want. I said, okay, let's order it. She goes, okay, Dad, give me the credit card. So she gets it ordered. I'm like, great. Now my daughter also likes going to the box to get it, right? She likes going to because we live in this apartment building. You got to press the code numbers, right? Is it come yet? It's come. She keeps asking me. So finally it comes 3 days later. It's here. Package is here. She's like, Dad, you got it. Now it's Quentin's birthday present. His present isn't till March, till May 17th, sorry. And my wife is like, why did you have to order this thing now? And I'm like, because I'm not going to find Mandalorian, honey. I'm telling you, it's going to be impossible. I'm telling you, they're gone. They weren't even on the shelves. She's like, come on. Your daughter just opened it. Open it up. Let's look. I said, well, I'm not going to look in front of Quentin. Let's go in my room. So my wife and I go into the bedroom. We'll have the reveal when we come back.
All right, everyone. I'm going to run the break and grab a drink. Got a little bit more to talk about on the other side. I don't know if we're going to do the full 15 minutes, but enjoy it, and we'll be back shortly.
All right. See you.
Hello, and welcome to Dark Mysteries. I'm your host, Sean Carroll, and tonight I'm going to be telling you a mystery. A mystery in which you will be attempting to solve in the chat below using yes or no questions, and I will respond honestly until the mystery is solved. Tonight's mystery is titled, A Breathing Mountain. A party was gathered, a dwarven cleric, an elven mage, and a human barbarian. They requested to meet at the dwarven town of Mightsfoot, to adventure into a fabled mountain, for a top-secret material known as Death's Bone. Their journey was delayed by a bandit attack, but they proved victorious. As they were now not on schedule and now late, upon their arrival, Mightsfoot was gone, destroyed, and almost completely flattened. As they were investigating, they realized there were no signs of life. The dwarf, who was proficient in his perception, then casted his gaze to the fabled mountain, noticing a large portion of it missing. He then began to have a heart attack, dying as a result. The mystery? What destroyed the city? And what caused the dwarf to die? Remember to drop your answers in the chat below. And if you enjoyed our dark mysteries, please leave us a like and follow. Do you have what it takes to solve the dark mystery?
Hey there, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. What can we do for you?
Hey, I'm Vic Mascatoni, and my crew and I, we got us a heist up there at old Aldor's place in a couple of nights. Now,
All right.
we're trying to slay the dragon on this one, if you know what I mean. So what I need is a few high-quality lockpicks, you know. None of that cheap crap that you sell the commoners. So what's a rogue got to do to get a good lockpick? What do you got for me?
Well, we don't sell parts, but if you're needing help getting into something, we can send a technician out.
Ooh, that's even better. So I tell you what, you send them up to Aldor's, right? You bring the lockpicks, right? We'll cut you guys in on the heist. Do it 50-50.
All right. Is this heist in a car, a house? Whatever.
It's up at old Aldor's place. He's sitting on a mountain of gold up there, and we just need to get in there and fill up our bags with as much of that gold as we can, you know what I mean? But you bring your lockpicks, you show up, we'll split it 60-40.
I'm not sure our insurance would cover us sending our technicians.
I tell you what, I'll slide you $2,500 up front. Nobody's got to know nothing. You come with the picks.
Well, I'm not the technician. I'm just the dispatcher.
Well, get me to the technician. He might want to make $2,500.
Okay, what's the address?
And that's going to be up at Way.
Okay. In which city?
What are we calling here? We're calling Portland, right? Yeah, it's going to be in Portland.
You said Way?
That's correct. This is exactly how it sounds, ma'am. Yeah.
Alright, is there a business nearby? I'm not able to pull that address up.
Well, you wouldn't be able to pull it up because it's old Aldor's place. And he keeps it under tight lock and key. Why we need the picks.
I don't think we'd be able to assist.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. I'll go on down there to the next locksmith and see if they want to make some money. You have a good night, huh?
You too. Hello, this is Spring Hill Suites in Hillsborough. Brenda speaking.
Hello, this front desk?
Mm-hmm.
I am Grigory Levushka. I am 87 years old, and I'm here to this country to visit my great nephew. So I stay at your hotel, yes?
Are you asking if we have availability?
I am not pleased with stay at hotel. Number one.
Oh, you're not pleased.
Why you no clean room? It stink like orc piss in here. Like camp of filth.
I am so sorry. What room are you currently in?
Number two. Next door neighbor bang on walls. Like how you say to owlbears. They fighting. You know, owlbear.
You're in room 2?
And number 3. The toilet growls like beast is giving me stink eye. is make very uncomfortable for me, you know? Basically, bushka.
Would you mind continuing this conversation on your room phone?
So you help me? No.
With the housekeeping?
Da? The toilet has teeth. It have teeth. Why have teeth? Is normal?
Yeah.
Is normal.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. If you wouldn't mind coming to the front desk, I wouldn't mind assisting you.
I'd be there as quickly as can. But if
Sounds good.
you follow the sound of what sound like two owlbear making love on second floor is no good.
Alright. See you soon.
Thank.
Hello.
Hello.
We're back. It worked. Cut that one a little short because we are super long. I didn't realize we had been shooting the shit this long. So,
Yeah, we went over.
Yeah, finish your story.
All right, so we open up the package, and what is inside there? I pull it out. It's a baby Yoda. It's a baby Yoda. I'm like, I told you, honey. They're trying to get me. Now, I want to say, first of all, this toy is distributed by Hasbro. Okay, so it's already like evil. I feel like there's already evil plans behind it. Like, how the heck did this happen? So now my daughter is involved. She pulls it back up on the screen. It says Mandalorian, silver lightsaber, yellow lightsaber, silver handle. How do I end up with Yoda? Like, how is this possible in the 21st century of ordering? So I'm like, no, it's going back. Like my daughter did the return label. We bring it back to Kohl's. Do you reorder this product? And I'm like, do you reorder this product? Like, are they going to send me the right one? My wife and daughter assured me to send me the right one, and I did do it. But then 6 days later, not 3 days later, it finally arrives. The Mandalorian saber with yellow blade, silver handle. I can't believe it took that long. Now, it should have been black, right? I mean, if they were going to get any of them right, shouldn't this? I mean, I really don't like a figure on the handle. Personally.
Yeah, I don't.
It's kind of McCheese.
It's a little weird.
It's the lightsaber squad. Now, what's even weirder about this? They have two kids playing with the Mandalorian one and the Baby Yoda on the packaging, right?
Uh-huh.
And it says Mandalorian. Then there's like pages of warnings. 4-5 pages of warnings. Then all the languages it's written in with abbreviations. But it doesn't ever say which ones they are. Now, underneath the logo, there's a stormtrooper, a rebel fighter, X-Wing, with the helmet.
Yeah.
A Darth Vader, and an R2-D2. Now, I've not seen R2-D2, Darth Vader, or the Rebel as... So, are they even, like... What are they making? Who are they... It's just like someone just like randomly decide they're going to make these things is like, I don't like.
All that matters to them is that you paid money for it. That's all they care about.
Well, and the moral of this story is I did get this for $2 cheaper than Target by ordering it online at Amazon. But like you said, it was an adventure trying to get it in itself.
And
this is the way.
And now you're just going to keep playing with it for 2 months until you give it to your kid for his birthday?
No, and my daughter was playing with it, and I said, come on, one of us is going to break it before Quentin even gets it, so it's going back in the closet. I said, Merwin said I can tell the story, so I'm just having it out for the story tonight.
All right, fair enough. All right, it's late as shit.
So
hey,
don't. I want to say one thing though, because
Yeah.
that's the same thing. Mandalorian went from this episodic, you know, to more of a serial. I think about Babylon 5 was a really fine, I'll call that a space opera. That was even more than a serial, but they were real masters of cutting the single episode that you could watch by itself, telling that huge arcing story, which was always written from beginning to end. They had an actor change, which was kind of unfortunate, but that worked out in their favor anyway. So,
well, speaking of actor changes and whatnot, what I'm dealing with right now, and you had mentioned this briefly as well, is I have a player that wants to change characters mid-campaign. He's one of the 2 original characters from when we began, and like the character's fun. He's had great moments. There's nothing wrong in the game whatsoever. And he's just like, he goes, I think I want to retire this character. And I'm like, fuck, like, I have story built with this character. You have a background, and whatnot. So it really got me thinking about how to handle it. Because, of course, his next character is a gaggle of weirdos character kind of thing that he got, he felt a certain kind of way about it. And he's throwing me a couple.
This totally fell into the interest range where I'm not interested, but I want to play this.
Well, yeah, so
right? I mean, is that?
I don't. Here's the thing. So I don't know. Like, I don't know, because he's had an interesting character arc. He's developed, and has gotten. He's been. He was kind of a more important character the last arc.
What level? What level did he?
He's 5 now. He's 5 now.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah. So,
can I ask race class?
Well, it was a half-elf cleric, and then now he wants to be a goblin fighter. I don't have goblins in my game because that's fucking dumb. So I have a fluff issue besides this the kind of thing. So
why not? So why not goblify the cleric? Perhaps the cleric gets some kind of evil smite and becomes some kind of goblin fighter now and loses his cleric abilities. I mean, you don't have goblins in your campaign, so he could be like an.
Well, I don't have goblins as player characters.
Well, I mean, he could be Hunchback. I mean, you could play it differently, couldn't you? I mean, how different does he have to be a goblin?
Well,
I think that's the thing too.
I think,
and then wait. You just said you don't have goblins in your campaign, and he's picking a new character is a goblin.
Yeah, because they're trying to drive me crazy. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, like this. No, see, this is our second half story here. Okay, hang on. Yeah, like they are fucking with you.
I don't know. So
I don't want to curse, but
well, so you're right. Well, here's the thing. So I have 2 problems now because the other player with an original character is back on this main character bullshit that I talked him out of before, and I'm a little tired of. And what it is that he feels bad for the other players whose characters are not originals if his character is the only original character, because then there's all this history and story going on with him, and he feels like somehow they're going to have less fun being a background character to him. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you have story arcs, you're connected to some of these things that they're involved in, but you're not.
You know what? That is super duper considerate of you as a player. I would say that first of all. I would say that 100,000% and say, are you considering being a DM? Because that's the kind of thoughts a DM puts into for every player to make sure everyone's arc is like, you really have to give them that perspective of why, I would think, because it makes no sense. I can see why a player wants to do it out of the kindness of their heart. Mm-hmm. But I mean, make them understand that that's not reasonable. You're going to have everyone's ending is going to be just as good as their ending, just because.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing, right? So he's got like he's got a very interesting story arc. It's revealing lore in the game. Other characters are interested in what's going on with him. Everyone likes the character, and as I've explained to him, like I go, the problem I run into is that the other two characters, right? And then when the one player changes his character, I have barely anything to work with them. The one guy's the new guy, so I don't think he's ever even. He's the one who I gave him the lore stuff, and he asked me if it came in audiobook form. Still one of the funniest things that fucking ever happened.
I was telling you could use Google.
Yeah, but yeah, right. But no, so like I don't have anything from him. It's here's the lore, make some choices. I got none of that stuff, right? And I'm like, I'm not going to push the issue because he's a new player and he's getting more and more into it. The other guy had a very simple. He's like, yeah, like I was an acolyte in the temple, and I don't want to spend my fucking years scrubbing floors and copying over scrolls. I wanted to go out and experience the world, and that's the only real thing. We've built stuff with that character, but he doesn't really have a character arc other than going from being wide-eyed and wonderful into being a kind of a fully formed person, which is going great for him. So there isn't arcs for those two. There's not story things that they're doing, but I mean, not everybody needs that. And like I said, he's looking to bail on the character because he feels that way, and I keep trying to explain it to him. So my point with this section, and you had brought up some stuff, is that I was kind of charting out the ideas. Is it them or is it you, as a player, and then how much do you indulge it? So I have a small list here. We'll run through quick, so we can all get to bed. So part of what I think led to it with the one character wanting to switch is a combination of things. So he's like the ADHD player, right? So just super distracted and off on tangents and whatever shiny thing comes this way. Like, it's kind of like a fear of missing out type thing. When you see like the YouTube videos, it's like, oh, how do you do a bajillion damage with your character? Well, if you're a half orc wizard, blah blah, and you take 2 levels of this.
I get that. I got a quick solution for you on that.
What?
Let him switch and pick up his character as the NPC. And he's got to see the actions of his character continued. I mean, that.
Well, I'm not running I'm not running the character. Wow. Too much work.
Why? Well, you don't. I mean, you can run that character. Not has to be every day. I mean.
Oh, the character. Yeah, the character's no. The character's not going to like disappear from the world.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can utilize that character as your main
absolutely
driver now.
Almost. He does have a pressing story arc to get resolved that I was hoping he'd be present for. We can do it with his character being absent because he's cursed essentially.
Right.
All right. So I have that. So
I was just thinking. I just thought of that as a quick.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. How do you deal with the flighty player who constantly wants to change things, either because it's flavor of the week, or they saw something cool, or they like I said, they got attention deficit disorder and they can't focus on something for more than 5 seconds.
I feel bad that I really can't offer advice on this because I think that's how I lose test players and that's how I lose people at Chronic Adventurers. They come in and play 2 or 3 weeks and then they're gone. And I don't know how to keep them. There's a point where there's got to be a buy-in at some point to your imagination where, yeah, I like this and I enjoy this kind of dynamic. I think it's like going to car shows. Some people just don't care and some people are fanatical about it.
Well, it's like I'll take you for example. Like you were a little weird to me because we did some play tests, and you're like, yeah, I play the same character every single time. Like you the same fighter character every time.
Well, that's what it turned. It turns out to be that when I started playing play tests, I ended up being the meat shield all the time. Everyone would talk about who they're playing, right?
Right.
And someone would eventually say, I'm going to be a warlock. And then someone would say, I'm going to be a monk. And then someone would say, I'm going to be a sorcerer. And then someone else would say, I'll be the healer. And then I'd be like, oh. Now, meanwhile, nobody said like what races they're going to be, or.
Right.
And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going dwarf fighter on this one. I'm going bold dwarf fighter. And then I got down to, you know what? I'm going weapons master. I'm going to go two-handed, cut down the dice rolls for play testing. Oh yeah, I did one play test where I had 4 with the light weapons.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and then surge, I'm rolling like 8 dice. That's like freaking nuts. 20th level dwarf fighter, light axis. So anyway, yeah. But before that I had played other characters. I had played. I was gonna say, when you met me, that had been all I had played. Previous to that, though, I was playing all the different test races for Eneron.
Right.
I did the Wild Magic Gnome, which is not coming out in the Droton book, which is one of my favorite Eneron races. I can't wait till it comes out. No spoilers right now. And then we had some orc sub races, which I don't know are being released.
There's a couple of them in the Briny Botel. So
yeah, I guess they are.
I hope there's something for them.
Okay.
All right. So I don't know that I have a solution.
So those are some other ones that I have played, but I don't know if there's a solution either. If people are not interested, they're not interested. How do you buy them back?
Well, here's the thing. The player's not leaving the game, and the player's not uninterested in the game. He's every bit as engaged now as he was, but he's one of those guys that is constantly throwing out character ideas and watching videos and shit like that. And
I think you got to say goodbye. I mean, how do you keep readjusting?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to change the game around the character. I mean, I might, like I said, I've come up with kind of the fluff to at least explain the fucking wackadoodle for a while. I don't like it, but whatever. But like, I don't want to tell him no and have him have a miserable experience with a character he's not interested in anymore. But what's to say he doesn't do it again, or 3 times, or 4 times,
how are you getting over the
5
goblin
times.
hurdle?
No, well, so I have hidden lore about orcs in my world, so it's not that big of a stretch to extend that to cover goblins as well. So. I just made that a thing. So
now, how's he going to fit into other cities?
He's not. No, that's the thing. I believe heavily in the verisimilitude of the world, so he's not going to fit into cities. Okay, it's going to be a problem.
How do the other players feel about this?
They're going to have to suffer.
No, see, I didn't ask you what you thought your other players feel about this. What do your other players feel about this?
I don't care.
I think that is the important key. That's the key thing for your table right now, is what they think. I mean, if the other players want that type of a game, then that's the game you should be DMing for them. You're already doing this for this one player. You're stretching your law to allow this goblin already. What about the other players? Are you guys ready for this guy to mess up every time you go into a town now? You got to figure out how to hide him. They might want to play that. They might be into playing that. Now, like I was saying, is there a way to play his other character as the NPC that keeps showing up as like his auntie? So like, they get to the city and now human cleric shows up again and abducts the goblin and puts him in a sack while everyone else goes and gets the information. He's torturing the goblin out in the town. Like, you can go anywhere you want with it as the DM to torture them, but they have to buy into why this player is there. Like, if you can't, they don't want the goblin there. They're all going to say, "F you, I'm leaving," or they're all going to say,
Here's the thing. This is the reason why I'm not going to change anything about it. There are real world, there are game world consequences for these kind of choices.
Right, but as players,
if the players' characters don't want to have him around, that's
so 80s. You're being 80s right now.
But here's the thing: if it's no different. It's no different than if he made a human fighter who's a dick, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm not hanging out with this guy anymore." I'm not going to force them to stay together as a party, but they're going to have to make a choice as a player. The player will have to make that choice. There needs to be it's if you just hand wave it and make everything okay somehow, then no choice has any meaning.
No, I'm not saying. See, talking to your players about if they accept that or not is not a hand waving.
Well, here's the thing. These are all newer. They're older people, but they're newer generation players. So having a goblin's not weird for them. That's just shit they see all the time.
But you didn't ask them. Again, you are.
Well, they're not running the game.
No, but you're still not getting there. Okay, you know what? You may have two people that are like, fuck this. I don't want a goblin in my game. Fuck you, goodbye. And your game's over. So who cares if this guy became
the game's not over. The player who fucked it up's got to deal with it now.
Well,
and what are we going to do?
Then you have two players. Like I don't.
None of my guys. I don't think.
I see it as an opportunity to grow the story with this other player now that he wants to switch, where you talk to the other players. It's a cooperative gameplay. Well, let's be cooperative and talk to everybody about this guy becoming a goblin. How are you going to play this? How are you going to play this? How are you going to play this? How does this change your goals and ideals? How does this change your goals and ideals? How does this change your goals and ideals? Then that gives you the input how to run the rest of the campaign. That they can all play the way they want to play it. I'm not saying to change anything, and they still have to deal with the consequences of what you said as their characters.
Right.
But as players, I think you got to say something and talk about it. Because, somebody else can say, you know what? I want to be a goblin too and join them. We can say no. So this one guy can be a goblin, but the other guy can't switch and be a goblin? Well, fuck you then.
Well, here's the thing. I have a secret tool in my DM's tool belt that will help me solve this problem if it comes up. Do you know what that is?
What's that?
Character death.
Well,
I'll kill him.
No,
solves all my problems.
But again, I'm not saying character death.
No. Here's the thing. You raise a very good point. You raise a very good point, and I do. But I do think, and not that I disagree with you, but I do think that, and this is probably a good. You know your
table, though. You know your table.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is a good bit of DM advice that you brought up. I do think you should, in this scenario, have the flighty player be like, "Hey, look, man, I need you to talk to the other players because your choice, and if you keep switching, is going to impact how the game goes. You need to make sure they're okay with it."
That's cool. That's cool.
And then if you force them to figure it out.
No, I like that. No, as a DM, you're saying to him, "You tell everybody because I don't want to be the one presenting it."
Now what about
to me does not matter as long as it is presented.
All right. So what about this? I got two more on my list, and then we're gonna get out of here. So what if the player wants to do it because he's either a min maxer and realizes there's some other better build he could have, or he's one of the group balancers? It's like, well, I realize that we're kind of light on healing. And it's made some fights hard, and we don't really have a tank or whatever. So I'm going to change characters so that we can have a balanced group. What do you do with those people?
There were two questions there.
Yeah, so somebody who wants to change because their character's not efficient.
The min-maxing thing is different than you're filling a role.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with the filling a role.
Okay. How do you deal with that?
It's funny because we started off talking about how do you make a role-playing game where people
don't have to do that, but people naturally do
that, and this person is feeling compelled that they want to play that role. So I don't know if I want to stop it if they feel like they want to play that role.
Right.
Now, is the rest of they have to address the rest of the group about it, and is that the real reason? And would that person really admit that's the real, remember, because part of an addict's problem is being able to admit the problem. So maybe that person needs to admit the real reason why they're doing this so that everyone can get over it and you can play it and figure out why are you doing this?
Well, here's the thing. So here's my solution to this, right?
It sounds like you're losing a healer.
No, well, I mean, yes. Which actually, there's another one in the group, so it doesn't really bother me. See, there might be something to this because they lost the player who was playing the fighter was asked to go get his shit together and not bother us for a while or ever. So they're down that character. They don't have a true tank. They don't have a fighter or a tank in the group, and the player's cleric kind of fills that role. There's another cleric in the group, right? So there's a bit of that overlap there, and I wonder if that's part of it.
That kind of makes sense, but a goblin, why?
Well, that's because he's a Warhammer. He's an old Warhammer player. He likes the orcs and goblins out of Warhammer. He thinks they're fun, and I don't think he's fully understands the horror I'm going to put him through, but he'll learn afterwards. But no, so my thoughts are this, right? If the person's unhappy with how the character mechanically plays, and it's either a matter of a build, a bad build, or you run it like, and we ran into this with the Rangers all the time. The mechanic, it's just such a poorly done class. I don't have a problem letting them keep the character but change the mechanics. So
that's what
change class, whatever. That's fine.
That's what I was thinking too. I mean, if this person now, here's the thing I'm thinking too. I mean, if the party had all these clerics and healers already, and the fighter dies, maybe a cleric would pick up the mantle of a paladin in honor of that fallen.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, I would be more than happy to change, let him change his last level selection or anything like that.
Yeah,
within the confines of the story, if that was the thing. Again, I think his
offered that option before? Or?
Yeah, we talked about like different ways the cleric could go, and he's like, no, I'll just take a level as cleric and whatnot. So that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get to the root thing.
So wait, he's staying a goblin cleric?
No, he's a half elf.
So what's he going to be? A goblin fighter?
Yes.
But it doesn't exist in your world, so it's kind of plot. All right, and you had a third thing. Let's go to.
The third thing is this.
Because I feel like they're all kind of clunk.
No, this one is the toxic player one. So you have people that obviously are changing to fuck the game up on purpose, getting their characters killed on purpose to make a new one. All the horrible behaviors. Right. Personally, with that, I got a long-standing rule in my games. If you suicide your character because you don't like your stats or because you want to change something, right? If you do that, just pack your shit up and go because you're not playing in the game anymore. Because I'm not going to risk you ruining the game, harming other characters and fucking things up because you decided that you weren't happy with your character, you don't like your guy. Well, you didn't like how it turned out when you tried to murder another player character? I don't give a shit. You lost. We're gonna go with this. I dealt with that in my last campaign. I'm like, yeah, you tried to murder an NPC that another character was attached to, and you got a player to help you who then changed his mind about it, and you lost. So, you either retire the character because you don't want to play him after you lost, or you don't play anymore. Because I'm not going to have you come back and then try to get revenge or do some shit that shouldn't happen. I'm not letting it happen, type thing. So I could, you can fuck right off with that. So I would take care of it that way. But
I don't. You know what? And for me, I've been a lucky DM, I guess, for the last 2 years.
I play with psychos.
I've been very lucky, even in the playtest scene. I don't think I've played with anybody that far off.
Well, so what I have as note here is it's a Band-Aid on your relationship. And hear me out with this, and I think this happens sometimes.
Okay.
The player is not enjoying the game. Either doesn't like the story, it's not his type of game, you're not his type of DM, or her DM, whatever. They have other stuff they'd rather be doing. Whatever the case is, they're not enjoying themselves, right? They're not into it anymore. They've lost the thread. whatever the case may be, and what they do is they start changing the character to get something new, so it's interesting again, or it's exciting again, or at least it's different than the boredom they've been going through. So they change characters to try to give themselves a reason to stay in your game. Right?
Right.
And I think that if you think that's what's going on, I think you got to pull the Band-Aid off and you got to address that this is not the game for you as a player, kind of thing. Because I have seen players do that, where they will, they're doing things to make. Oh, I got to do this because I have to make the game fun for myself. Look, man, if you're not enjoying yourself, don't come back. Don't, it's okay. I'm not offended.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it gets to the point of tension, I mean, that's not why, you came to play a game.
Yeah.
Not to stress yourself. Not to stress yourself. Yeah, it's supposed to be a fun thing going on. And I think, again, that comes down to like our recreational needs and wants.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting, who's playing and who's not playing, and it's nice to see that it's spanning the age group. Like you were saying, how I say stuff that people don't get.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that this game we were playing as kids, people are getting now.
Yeah.
And it's even nicer to see people starting to understand there's more than just, there are lots of games.
Fair enough. Well said. Mm-hmm. All right. It's late as shit. I could ramble on for many more hours, but I think I'm falling asleep. So I've already bitched about things tonight. We've done plenty of that. I've already talked about how I don't care if my players are unhappy because I'm an evil DM from the 80s. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna
mention that.
I did. I think we're gonna skip right to the outro. Doc, I will give you the honors, and we will wrap this shit up. So.
Hey, I've been thinking about this. No matter how you start out, we start out odd. I know
okay.
I always open with that little bitty, but I wanted to say tonight too. One of the things sitting around trying to stay on what's going on this week and watching news and all that kind of stuff. Just it's cool being here at Dungeon Studios with everybody. Merwin, working with you and Josh and everybody, TJ, and I just got to give a shout out to like everybody at Dungeon Studios. Ollie, it's just been a blast for me for a year plus. So I just wanted to say thank you again to everybody because it's just a really cool bunch, and there's nothing else as sincere as this and as topical and as much I feel like you can take home and add something new to your game that isn't already out there somewhere. So remember, with a little creativity and initiative, you're always at the prime advantage.
The last time I heard a person give that kind of an outro, they then quit the campaign the next week. I thought you were gonna end that with "and I quit." So on that note, terrifying everybody.
No. I got that off of what's that? I don't.
Your AI right? Your AI wrote that?
Yeah, an AI wrote that for me.
Really?
No, because I'm a good. Come on, as a Toastmaster.
All right. Okay. All right. All right, everybody. Good night. We'll close on Doc's words. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening to us wherever you are. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out our Discord. Check out the website. And we will see you next week.
We love you.
I don't love anyone.
Amber, we need you.
Again, I had 3 minutes to hit the music so it would work properly, and I didn't. Good night, everyone. Enjoy.